Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order at time 10 o'clock on this Thursday, June 16th, 2022. As many of you know, the governor has recently signed Public Act 101-0640, making certain amendments to the Open Meetings Act so that we, along with other board members and commissioners or commissions, can continue to host virtual meetings during COVID-19 public health emergency, provided that certain conditions are met. One of those conditions is that I, as head of the Chicago Plan Commission, determined that an in-person meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission is not practical or prudent. I want to make sure our virtual meeting meets all the conditions of the Open Meetings Act as amended. Therefore, I'm making a determination pursuant to newly created Section 7E2 of the Open Meetings Act that an in-person meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission is not practical or prudent. Similarly, I am also making a determination pursuant to the newly created Section 7E5 that because of the disaster as declared by the governor, it is unfeasible for at least one member of the Chicago Plan Commission or its chief administrative officer or its chief legal officer to be physically present at the meeting place, inasmuch as there is no physical meeting place. Before we get into the full meeting agenda for the June 16th, 2022 Chicago Plan Commission meeting, I would like to ask that everyone, because we are meeting virtually, please be mindful of your surroundings in terms of noise. Please remember to keep yourself muted when you are not speaking. The meeting is being recorded and also live streamed for public viewing. Lastly, if you are an active participant in the meeting, especially if you are speaking, please do not watch the live stream as this will cause audio interference. Thank you. I also want to quickly provide guidance to those who have pre-registered to provide testimony on the cases presented for public hearing today. Those who requested to testify at the Plan Commission today should have already submitted testimony forms, which included the speaker's full name, address, as well as the public hearing item number and those forms that have been gathered by the staff. I would also like to remind our presenters to please be mindful of their presentation's length and to please stay on point in a concise and effective manner so as to respect the time of all in attendance. Out of respect for others, speakers should please limit your comments to 3 minutes. When your name is called, your microphone will be unmuted to allow you to make your comments. Also, please attempt to refrain from repeating comments that have been made by previous speakers. The public comment portion of the meeting is not a question and answer session of staff or the applicant, but an opportunity for attendees to voice their opinions on a particular proposal. Out of respect for others, please do not interrupt or disrupt the speakers. Any individual who disrupts the presentation or any subsequent comment session may be muted and removed from the virtual hearing session. With that, we will now go to roll call. I'd like to start with Commissioner Barclays.
Present.
Commissioner Biaggi, not in attendance today. Commissioner Burnett. Commissioner Brumfield is here. Commissioner Cox,
Yes, here.
Commissioner Escanero. Commissioner Escanero?
I'm here. Could you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Flores is not here today. Commissioner Garza,
Present.
Commissioner Lightfoot, Commissioner Lyons,
Present.
Commissioner Moore,
Present.
Commissioner Murphy,
Here.
Commissioner Navarra,
Here.
Commissioner Osterman, Commissioner Pinheiro.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes, Commissioner Searle,
Present.
Commissioner Posada, Commissioner Tunney,
Here.
Commissioner Villegas.
Present. Present.
Thank you, Commissioner Wagasback. Okay, we will now approve the minutes from the May 26, 22 meeting, regularly scheduled Plan Commission meeting. The minutes were distributed prior to today's hearing. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regularly scheduled meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission held on May 26, 2022?
So moved.
Seconded.
Commissioner Searle.
So moved by Commissioner Searle, seconded by,
Garza.
thank you, Commissioner Garza. Roll call vote. Commissioner Barclay,
Yes.
Commissioner Biaggi, Commissioner Burnett, Commissioner Brumfield is a yes, Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Escanero. Commissioner Escanero? Commissioner Flores? He's not here today. Commissioner Garza?
Yes.
Commissioner Lightfoot? Commissioner Lyons?
Abstain?
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Commissioner Navarra? Commissioner Navarra? Commissioner Osterman? Commissioner Pinheiro?
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes? Commissioner Searle?
Yes.
Commissioner Posada? Commissioner Tunney?
Yes.
Commissioner Villegas?
Sorry. Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback? Motion passes. We will now take public testimony for the items remaining on the agenda today. We have just 2 people who submitted a speaking form ahead of time to speak on items today. We will call that name first, followed by then a request for any other attendees who wish to make public comment. When I call your name, please wait a moment until you are unmuted, and then you may proceed to speak. Please be reminded that you will have 3 minutes to speak. The first is Benita Sanchez Carlson to speak about item D2, the Shedd Aquarium, and the second is Butler Adams to speak about item D4 at 6301 6325 South Maryland. Ms. Sanchez Carlson, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Hello, everyone. My name is Bonnie Sanchez Carlson, and I am the President and Executive Director of the Near South Planning Board. We are a not-for-profit community organization serving the businesses, institutions, and stakeholders on the Near South Side. We've had the opportunity to review the plan submitted by the applicant, the Shedd Aquarium and the Park District for their property at 1200 South DuSable Lakeshore Drive. According to our review, the proposal consists of major exterior renovations to the aquarium and include enhancing the accessible entrance with new entry and ticketing pavilions, reconstructing and expanding the north terrace by 10 feet, and installing a new north gallery roof. Serving as a key cultural educational amenity in Illinois, it is imperative for an institution such as the Shedd to maintain its relevancy over time and to provide equitable, accessible, and quality programs for all to experience. As a major stakeholder on the city's Near South Side, it's equally important to continue investing in not only its property, but in the community as well. We believe the Shedd's centennial commitment and these improvements do just that. The Shedd Aquarium is an amazing gem in our beautiful city along the magnificent lakefront. And we support these necessary plans for improvement to maintain its quality status. Near South Planning Board does not believe these exterior renovations to the facility will have any adverse effect to the property, which is located within the public use zone of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection District. We do, however, want the shed to ensure the least minimal disruption for visitors to the aquarium and provide an update on their staging plans during construction and phasing. Overall, Near South Planning Board overwhelmingly supports the application's request, and we urge the Chicago Plans Commission approval as well. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez Carlson. Mr. Adams, you have 3 minutes.
Chairman, I didn't see Butler sign on today.
Oh, he's not on today. Okay. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make public comments at this time? If so, please raise your hand in the Zoom and we will call your name in that order as they appear. And
We hand raise Miss Lisa DiChiera.
I'm sorry, sir, could you repeat your name?
This is Lisa DiChiera. I am Director of Advocacy for Landmarks Illinois, and I would wish to speak on the Shed Aquarium.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. I did submit a letter on behalf of Landmarks Illinois last week and just want to reiterate our position here at this time. Landmarks Illinois is in full support of the proposed renovation and addition plans developed by the Shed Aquarium and its team, and feel very confident about the current design and the update design changes that we received. We believe that everything is still in keeping with the Secretary of Interior standards for renovations and additions, which are the appropriate set of guidelines by which to review this project, because Shed Aquarium is a National Historic Landmark. The principal feedback that we provided is in keeping with the State Historic Preservation Office in Springfield. They too reviewed this project and believed that everything was in keeping with the Secretary of Interior standards. We also want to reiterate that the design of the new southwest accessible entrance is respectful of the historic building in footprint and scale and does not distract from the west grand entrance, which was the primary concern. We also had expressed some interest in seeing some design change to the ticket pavilion, and that was done. And so whereas there was a wood material employed previously, that has now been changed to GFRC, and we believe that has greatly improved the appearance of this aspect of the project. Again, very happy with some other changes that are being made that will improve the historic buildings, such as reopening historic windows that have been long closed. So again, I thank this team and thank you to the staff at the city for their assistance. And this project will be great for the continued use and preservation of this National Historic Landmark on our lakefront. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chira. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make public comments at this time? If so, please raise your hand in the Zoom window.
No other hand raised, Chairman.
Thank you very much. That concludes our public testimony for today's Plan Commission meeting. Next on the agenda are matters subject in accordance with the Interagency Planning Referral Act. Do I have a motion to approve items number 1 through 6 under the disposition heading and items numbered 7 through 12 under the ANLAP heading? Do I have a motion?
So moved by Commissioner Searle.
Seconded by Commissioner Barclay.
So moved by Commissioner Searle, seconded by Commissioner Barclay. Can I have a roll call vote? Commissioner Barclay,
Yes.
Commissioner Biaggi, Commissioner Burnett, Commissioner Brumfield is a yes. Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Escanero.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores, Commissioner Garza,
Yes.
Commissioner Lightfoot, Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore. Commissioner Moore. Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Navarra,
Yes.
Commissioner Osterman, Commissioner Pinero,
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes, Commissioner Searle,
Yes.
Commissioner Sposata, Commissioner Tunney,
Yes.
Commissioner Villegas,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasbach. Motion passes.
Chairperson,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Moore, I couldn't get my mute button to work for some reason. I apologize.
No need to apologize, Commissioner Moore. We've all been there over the past 2 years, so thank you.
Okay.
With that, motion passes. Now we move on to the public hearing presentation portion for matters submitted in accordance with the Lakefront, Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance and or the Chicago zoning ordinance. The first item on the agenda is D1, a proposed amendment to Business Plan Development 646 submitted by Allo Property Company 2 LLC for the property generally located at 1967 North Kingsbury Street. The applicant proposes to rezone the property located in 1967 North Kingsbury Street from Business Plan Development 646 to B3-1 Community Shopping District, then to Business Plan Development 646 as amended to allow for a drive-through with 5 parking spaces in Subarea A. No changes to Subarea B of Plan Development 646 are proposed. This item is 2086 located in the 2nd Ward. Heidi Sperry will provide the context overview and the applicant will present their proposal. Ms. Sperry.
Good morning. For the
Morning.
record, my name is Heidi Sperry and I'm with the Department of Planning and Development. And the applicant is before you today proposing an amendment to Business Plan Development 646 to rezone the site from PD 646 to B33 Community Shopping District, and then back to Business Plan Development 646 as amended. This will allow for the construction of a 1-story drive-through restaurant with 5 accessory parking spaces. The subject site is located in the Lincoln Park community area, where the average household size is 1.9 people. The median age is 31, and just over 60% of the population is 34 years old or younger. The median household income is about $110,000. PD 646 is generally bounded by Clybourne Avenue to the east, northeast, Magnolia Street to the northwest, Cortlandt Street to the south, and Kingsbury Street to the west. In this aerial, you see the plan development situated at the center of the screen. Subarea A of PD 646 is outlined in red. Subarea B lies immediately east and consists of a 1-story commercial building that includes a surface parking lot. No changes to Subarea B are proposed as part of this action. The surrounding zoning districts are M12 Limited Manufacturing District, M22 Light Industry District, C13, which is a neighborhood commercial district, and Plan Development 1439, which is also known as Lincoln Yards North. The site is approximately about a third of a mile away from the CTA's Armitage Brown Line stop and the CTA's Armitage bus stops in front of the site on Cortlandt Avenue. This is a rendering of the proposed development seen here within its context at the intersection of Kingsbury, which is to the west, and Cortlandt to the south. The site backs up to the largely vehicularly oriented commercial development that is situated on North Clybourne. The building is sited on the southern portion of the site to effectively screen views of the drive-through queuing lane and the parking lot from Cortlandt Avenue. All vehicular queuing will be accommodated on the northern portion of the site, with the entry off of Magnolia and the exit proceeding off of Kingsbury. This will limit traffic impacts. Additionally, a portion of the site along Kingsbury will be dedicated to establish the parkway along Kingsbury. In addition to activating a currently vacant site, as you can see in the upper right-hand corner, this proposed development will enhance the pedestrian experience along both Cortland and Kingsbury. The site is located in the North Branch Industrial Corridor and subject to the North Branch Framework Plan, which was adopted by the Chicago Plan Commission in May 2017. Some of the goals from the framework plan include maximizing the North Branch as an economic and vital job center, providing better access for all transportation modes, and enhancing natural resources and built assets throughout the corridor. Now I will turn the presentation over to Katie Janke-Dale, the applicant's attorney, who will explain further details on the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. For the record, my name is Katie Janke-Dale from the law firm of DLA Piper. And along with my colleague, Rich Clowder, we represent the applicant for this matter, which is an affiliate of Sterling Bay. I'm joined today by representatives from Sterling Bay, the developer, Space Architects Planners, the project architect, KLOA, the traffic engineer, and Let Us Entertain You, the proposed user, which is a local Chicago-based restaurant group. As mentioned by staff, this is an existing PD that was approved in 1997, and this amendment relates only to the west sub-area, which is currently unimproved. The team met with the zoning committee of the Sheffield Neighbors Association twice. We also worked very closely with DPD and CDOT on the proposed site plan and circulation. As a result of input from all these groups, significant changes were made to the site plan and circulation pattern. Now I'm going to turn the presentation over to Jay Keller from Space Architects to talk about those changes and the final plan. Jay?
Thank you, Katie. For the record, my name is Jay Keller. I am a principal with the architectural firm of Space Architects and Planners, and retained as the architect on this project. Quickly before you is the site plan and the ground floor plan of the development, proposed development. As Katie mentioned, some of the changes we made as a result of the Sheffield Neighbors input as well as DPD's is relocating the building from essentially the center of the site parallel to Kingsbury Street to now parallel to Cortland Street, activating the corner and really shielding the parking as Heidi had mentioned as well. One of the other things that we changed as a result of both input from Sheffield Neighbors and DPD was how we circulated throughout the site. And I'll go through that a little bit more as we get to the traffic slide. You can go to the next slide, please. This is simply the roof plan. It's not much to it. It's a one-story building. It'll have some mechanical equipment on top as is necessary for service of the restaurant. Next slide, please. We have the four building elevations. All of them are similar in nature with materials. They are using metal panel, which is the brand identity of Do Right Donuts and a Let Us operated restaurant. And it's I believe kind of formed to evoke kind of a 60s era gas station you might find out west or something like that. One-story structure with glazing along the front where the customers will sit, and then it's got the drive-through overhang as well. A simple building section. It's just simply a one-story building. Next slide. This is the traffic slide. One of the things that we had great input on from the Sheffield Neighbors and DPD was ingress and egress. This corner at Cortland and Kingsbury is congested and can get very backed up. Our original design had the entry on Kingsbury as an entry and exit, both exit, and it was closer to Cortland. Through input by both associations, we moved the main entrance to Magnolia, largely so we won't back up with orders in the morning, during the rush hour when people are getting coffee, orders and backup queues that won't block Cortland. And then as we exit onto Kingsbury, you have the option of going to Cortland or coming around and cutting through Magnolia as well. So it gives you more options and should alleviate the congestion at the Cortland intersection. Next slide, okay. This highlights some of the components of the traffic study. I won't go through them, but we're here to answer any questions you may have. Unless Louie, do we want to have Louie talk about that, Katie?
So he's just available for questions. Thanks, Jay.
Okay, thank you. And then this is a little bit better perspective of the building, the design, and some of the features of it. It kind of shows the corner image and how we're activating that corner with outdoor seating, aligning the building on Cortland and really activating that important corner. This shows the landscaping. We're really focusing it, of course, to screen the parking area. We have a lot of internal landscaping in the parking area, and of course, along that corner of Kingsbury and Cortland to soften that edge. And samples of the colors, a Patriot Red and a Pure White, as I mentioned, are the identity brand of Do Right Donuts. And then our sustainable initiatives we have outlined here are planned to get to 100. We're targeting 105. And this is just outlining our path to get there. And this is about how we're going to handle the stormwater on the site, in between infiltration systems using permeable pavers, and then we have underground detention when we have a 100-year flood. And that'll all be, designed obviously by a civil engineer. And then Sterling Bay, I believe we'll be talking about the public benefits.
I'll jump back in there. Again, for the record, Katie Jinkey-Dale from DLA Piper. This project involves a number of public benefits, including activating a dormant corner and many improvements to the surrounding public way, which were previously outlined. We'll also create 100 temporary construction jobs that will be subject to the mayoral executive order and 15 to 20 permanent jobs. Our entire team is available for any questions or to go over anything in more detail, but we appreciate your time and consideration. And with that, I'll turn the presentation back over to DPD. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. For the record, Heidi Sperry with the Department of Planning and Development. The Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant and has concluded that the proposal would be appropriate for the following reasons. The proposal will not affect the continued industrial viability of the North Branch Industrial Corridor. The proposal complies with the North Branch Framework Plan and is consistent with land use patterns in this portion of the industrial corridor. The proposal complies with the PD statements and guidelines. It includes a level of amenities appropriate to the nature and scale of the project. It promotes public interest, pedestrian interest, public safety, and comfort. And finally, it is compatible with the surrounding area in terms of uses, density, and building scale. Please refer to my staff report for further details on this project and the plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, the zoning administrator recommends that the application for the establishment of plan development and for the establishment of for the amendment to plan development 646 in the North Branch Industrial Corridor be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standard as such. Finally, I'd like to note for the record that DPD has received a letter from Alderman Brian Hopkins in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Do the commissioners have any questions of the staff or the applicant? I believe Commissioner Tunney raised his hand. Commissioner Tunney.
Thank you, Chair. Question for the department. I'm not as familiar with this corridor, but what is the size of the land? It seems like it's an underutilization of what we could actually do on this property.
Alderman Tunney, I can take that for you. The net site area for this sub area is just under 19,000 square feet.
No comment from me.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm on two calls, but continuing.
Sure. The restaurant itself is about 2,500 square feet.
Heidi, say it again. The land is what?
The land portion just under 19,000 square feet, and the restaurant itself just over 2,000.
Okay, so that, according to your report, that fits into the character of the surrounding, industrial development. It seems to me that it's 20,000 square feet for a drive-through is, as I said earlier, an underutilization of this And then the second question is, how does this contribute to the pedestrian experience? There's going to be nobody walking to this thing.
So Alderman, I'm happy to answer both of those questions. If I could go back to your first question regarding the amount of site dedicated to this project. The department felt very strongly that in order to alleviate and mitigate some of the traffic concerns, that it's very critical that all of the queuing of cars be handled on site. So we feel like the site, while it seems like could accommodate a much larger project, for the purposes of this particular use, it's critical that all of the vehicular queuing happen on the site behind the restaurant, shielded away from the view along Portland Street. So we've worked closely with the applicant and closely with CDOT to resolve any traffic concerns that we have and really reduce the impact of this use in this site. Finally, you asked about the pedestrian experience. In terms of, I can go back to the existing image. Oh, here it is. So it currently is a very barren, vacant site. And what is being proposed is certainly an increase in terms of the landscaping. This site will be greener. It will be more active. The project is proposing seating along the front of Cortland. And I would also just note that this portion of the parkway is being dedicated and will be established to create what would be typically seen as kind of a pedestrian walkway, sidewalk, parkway, a much more green experience than currently exists, because right now there's literally just a curb and a street. So for those reasons, we feel that the pedestrian experience will be enhanced by the project.
Heidi, I know where you're going with this. I'm a big fan of Do Right Donuts, trust me, and let us entertain you. But I don't see this being anywhere near. There's very little parking. This is just a drive-through. I don't see. I wish it was more of a restaurant or something where there is indoor dining, but there's no. This is such a traffic mitigation plan that I don't know how we're going to have people walking or people dining in, and if there is, just kind of, I just think it's better than what's there now, but I'm not that familiar with the industrial corridor. From what I see, though, it just seems like an underutilization. While I'll support it, I had to put my restaurant hat on there for a little bit and saying that's a lot of donuts to sell too. So thank you.
Chairman Penny, sorry, Heidi.
I was just going to turn it over to the team to offer any additional commentary.
Yeah, thank you, Heidi, and sorry to interrupt. We do have Jess Brown, who's the Director of Leasing for Sterling Bay, on the call today. And it may help just to hear from her about how they approached the site and landed on this use as the best use for it. Jess, could you unmute yourself and address?
Thanks, Katie. Hi, everyone. I'm Jess Brown. I'm the Director of Leasing at Sterling Bay. And we pursued a variety of uses for this site, including traditional single tenant retail, like you're discussing, Tom, and non-drive-through restaurants. However, given the size and the long and narrow configuration of the site, no one could successfully lay out this site. Given the relevance of drive-through businesses during COVID, there were several drive-through users active in the market when we were pursuing this user. After discussions with several operators, we decided to move forward with Do Right because they could lay out the site efficiently, and they were operating, they're a quality operator, and they were offering both internal sit-down business and the drive-through option. We strongly feel like this is the highest and best use of this site, given its configuration.
Appreciate your comment on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Tunney. Commissioner Burnett, good morning. Commissioner Burnett, I believe you had a
good morning. I'm sorry. I just want to be counted
Yes, Commissioner Burnett certainly can hear you, I think, as you go in and out, but we acknowledge that you have joined this morning's Plan Commission. Thank you. Is Alderman Hopkins or staff here to make a statement, or is there a letter on file?
We have a
Vice
letter,
Chair.
Chairman. Oh, it looks
sorry.
like looks like he has staff join. I'm sorry, I didn't see Brian come in.
Good morning, Brian. No, well,
Can you hear me?
yes, we can now. Good morning.
I just got promoted. Thanks, Noah. I jumped on at the last minute. Yes, just here to reiterate Alderman Hopkins' support for this project. You should have a letter on file. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Do the commissioners have any additional questions for staff, the applicant, or the alderman? With that, do I have a motion on proposed amendment?
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry, Commissioner.
Uh,
I did not see your
thank
hand. My
you.
apologies, for Commissioner
No,
Cox.
I was struggling to get it up. I did want to continue a little bit on Alderman Tunney's comment about the use of the site. I think I'm actually quite pleased with this as a demonstration of what you can do when you have a drive-through business on a site. This is one of the first that we've seen where the drive-through operator had agreed to put the drive-through on the back of the business and allow the establishment to have some interface with pedestrian with the main street. It's usually the other way around. So as this street transitions to tilts more toward a pedestrian orientation, I think we'll look back at this building as one of those contributing buildings to help this area change what the current trajectory which is actually quite challenging for pedestrians. So we struggle maybe once a month, maybe even more frequently with businesses that have a drive-through component, and we get enormous pushback from them to situate their buildings in the manner that Do Right has situated this building. So I'm going to file it away as an example of that you can accommodate drive-through business and give something back to the public realm. So I know this area has yet to really define itself in terms of where it's going, but I think when we see the rest of the area build out, we will probably see it tilt much more towards a pedestrian orientation. And I think this is just one small example of one small step, if you will, towards that orientation. So I just wanted to let Alderman Tunney know why we think so highly of the project, even though at first glance it looks like an underutilization of the site. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Do the commissioners have any additional questions for staff, the applicant, or the alderman? With that, do I have a motion on proposed amendment to Business Plan Development 646 submitted by Allo Property Company 2 LLC for the property generally located at 1967 North Kingsbury Street, finding that it meets the requirements for approval?
So move, Pinheiro.
Moved by Commissioner Pinheiro, seconded
Commissioner Moore.
by Commissioner Moore. Is there any discussion by the commissioners on this motion? If no, I'd like to do a roll call vote. Commissioner Barclay,
Yes.
Commissioner Biaggi, Commissioner Burnett,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
I'm sorry, skipped over myself. Commissioner Brumfield is a yes. Commissioner Escarino,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores, Commissioner Garza,
Yes.
Commissioner Lightfoot, Commissioner Lyons, Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Navarro,
Yes.
Commissioner Osterman, Commissioner Pinheiro,
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes, Commissioner Searle,
Yes.
Commissioner Spazada, Commissioner Tunney,
Yes.
Commissioner Villegas,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback. Motion passes. Thank you, team.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is D2, a proposed Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance application submitted by the Shed Aquarium Society in the Chicago Park District for the property generally located at 1200 South DuSable Lakeshore Drive. The property is zoned institutional plan development number 664 and is within the public use zone of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection District. The applicants are seeking to do exterior renovations to the John G. Shed Aquarium, including the following: enhancing the accessible entrance with new entry and ticketing pavilions, reconstructing and expanding the north terrace by 10 feet, and installing a new north gallery roof. LF number 767 is located in the 4th Ward. Emily Thrun will provide the context overview, and the applicant will present their proposal. Ms. Thrun.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Emily Thrun with the Department of Planning and Development. The applicants appear here today because they are seeking to do exterior renovations to the John G. Shed Aquarium, including enhancing the accessible entrance with a new entry and ticketing pavilions, reconstructing and expanding the north terrace by 10 feet, and installing a new north gallery roof. The subject site is located within the public use zone of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection District, and therefore the proposed improvements to the site are regulated by Section 16-4-150 of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance and require approval from the Chicago Plan Commission. The subject site is located in the near South Side community area. The community area has seen a large population increase from 2000 to 2020. Over 40% of the population has a graduate or professional degree or higher, and the median household income is over $110,000. The Shed Aquarium opened on May 30th, 1930, and is located on the museum campus near the Field Museum and the Adler Planetarium. It is located in Grant Park and is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The site is located in institutional plan development number 664 and is within the public use zone of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection District. The surrounding zoning districts in the immediate area include Parks and Open Space District and numerous planned developments that contain the Field Museum, Soldier Field, the Adler Planetarium, and Nordley Island. The land within PD 664 is owned by the Chicago Park District, and the Shed Aquarium leases the land from them. A minor change for the proposed renovations was submitted concurrently with the lakefront protection application. The subject site is bounded by Lake Michigan to the north and east, the Field Museum and South DuSable Lakeshore Drive to the west, and Burnham Harbor. Parking lots in Soldier Field are located to the south. The site can be accessed from the lakefront bike and pedestrian paths to the north and south of the site. The site is located about a half-mile east of the CTA's red, orange, and green line station at Roosevelt, and about a third mile east of the Metro's Museum Campus 11th Street station on the electric line. The site is also served by the CTA's number 146 bus directly south of the building. The project is subject to the Chicago Area Plan and the Chicago Central Area Action Plan. Both plans were adopted by the Chicago Plan Commission and support strengthening and promoting the central area's tourist destinations and cultural assets. The site also falls under the Grant Park Framework Plan, whose goals include expanding the role of the park as a regional, citywide, and local resource. Now I will turn the presentation over to Bridget O'Keefe, the applicant's attorney, who will further explain the details of the proposal.
Bridget O'Keefe, for the record, I'm an attorney with Dasman and Almond here today on behalf of the Shed.
Ms. O'Keefe, I think your internet speed is slow, so I'm going to turn off your video. That might help because your audio is also freezing.
Are we able to get her back?
No, Chairman, I think she's frozen or we've lost her.
Joe, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I can. I can jump in. This is Joe Valerio. Good morning, commissioners. What Bridget was going to explain is there really are three external improvements. First, there's the enhancement of the existing accessible entrance to the southwest of the building. Then there is the rebuilding of the North Terrace. Basically, the foundations have failed and this area needs to be rebuilt. And we're extending it 10 feet to the north, which I'll describe further in the next few slides. And then also we're rebuilding the roof of the North Galleries to accommodate a new service deck just north of the octagonal rotunda. Next slide. Bridget Coughlin the CEO of the Shed, would like to talk about their centennial commitment. Bridget.
Thank you. For the record, I'm Bridget Coughlin, President and CEO at Shed Aquarium, and I wanted to put these three exterior modifications into a larger context. They are part of a huge strategic thrust of the aquarium that's taken many years to develop and crescendoed to our announcement last January of the centennial commitment. It will take 8 years to fully implement all aspects of the centennial commitment, landing us at the year 2030 to celebrate our 100th birthday. And it's also an investment of $500 million for people, for communities, and for aquatic life. Now, some of that is happening here on museum campus, and some of it is happening already on the waterways of Chicago, like our Kayak for Conservation program, and also embedded in schools, like our Shed Academy High School program, where we teach a marine biology elective and then bring those high schoolers here to the aquarium. What we will be able to do with this overall centennial commitment is to take already the most destinated, ticketed cultural attraction in Chicago and to scale. When fully done, the centennial commitment will return $410 million in related economic impact for Chicago year over year. But I think for me, beyond the dollars, as one of the members of the public made in the public comment period, this will allow us to more seamlessly and joyfully welcome all guests, not just visitors to Shed Aquarium, but park users alike. And that's personally what I am grateful for your time and discussion and approval today. And it's a very significant moment, not only in our history, but we think in the history and the positive trajectory of this incredible city. Thank you.
The Shed Aquarium has engaged in a significant public outreach to the many organizations that care a lot about the museum campus, Grant Park, and the Shed Aquarium. And so this is just a record of the meetings that we've had, or multiple meetings, including meetings with Sophia King, the alderman for the 4th Ward. Next slide, please. Our group has met with or presented to the Committee on Design. As part of that community outreach, there was a lot of discussion about our design and recommendations. And of course, the Department of Planning and Development weighed in with their own comments and suggestions. As a result of this, we made really 5 changes to the design, which I want to go over in the next 2 slides. So next, please. Yes. So the 5 changes we made are illustrated on the next 2 slides, as I said. First, the ceiling of both pavilions have been changed from wood to glass fiber reinforced concrete, GFRC for short, which is more compatible with the historic marble. Second, a large specimen trees have been added to mediate between the scale of the new pavilions and the height of the historic building. This is one of the really good suggestions that came from the Committee on Design. And then finally, the canopy has been replaced with a trellis with a playful wave pattern as a nod to the playful ornamental system of the original building. Next slide. So to continue with the changes, the plan on the left is our original design. The plan on the right indicates the changes that we've made, which is an enhancement of the landscape materials on the north lawn in quantity and scale. Shade trees have been added to the existing picnic area to the northeast. And finally, the proposed lakeside pavilion has been removed from our plan along with the adjacent sidewalk. Next slide. So these are photographs of the existing conditions. And I should open with that studies of shed visitors have shown that 80% of them approach the building from the south, either from the Soldier Field parking area, the shed traffic circle, or the adjacent CTA stop. The photo in the upper left is taken from the shed traffic circle, illustrates a problem. From this point, a visitor cannot see either the west entrance or the accessible entrance. A visitor must walk 100 feet before the accessible entrance comes into view, as shown in the upper right. As you can see, the view of the main west entrance is completely blocked by the existing trees. And this will be remedied in our design. In the lower left, the Man with Fish fountain welcomes visitors, and behind the fountain is the existing visitor accessible entrance, which simply does not have the capacity to respond to demand for an accessible entrance. Next slide. Additional two important visitor metrics, which you need to understand. First, 85% of visitor groups purchase timed entry tickets in advance. This is a dramatic change from before the pandemic. And 20% of these groups include someone with mobility issues, whether it is an elderly adult or a family with a stroller. To streamline the entry process, a separate ticketing pavilion accommodates visitors purchasing tickets on site. Those with pre-purchased tickets can enter immediately to start their shed experience through the entry building. Next slide. This is a view from the south. The enhanced accessible entrance will extend shed programs, including animal encounters, for the first time outside the walls of the building and into the landscape, making a very strong connection with everyone using the museum campus, even if they're not entering the shed. The two pavilions with the circular trellis are all about placemaking, creating a sense of arrival at the enhanced entrance. The landscape design has been reworked to partially reveal the west entrance, which can be seen in the distance. Next slide. The Man with Fish fountain has always been a favorite place for groups to meet before they begin their shed experience. The design celebrates the fountain. In accordance with best practices for security, both the touchless security screening equipment and the touchless turnstiles are placed in the new entry pavilion outside the walls of the historic building. Next slide. In this night image, the playful pattern of the trellis can be seen. Important to note, the curved forms that have been a design theme in earlier additions to the Shed Aquarium, including both the Oceanarium and the Wild Reef Terrace. Next slide. The Shed takes seriously its stewardship of their historic building. On the right-hand side of this building section, the height of the entry pavilion is reduced to slide under the stone belt line that is continuous around the entire 1930 building. The slight increase in height of the entry pavilion gives it prominence over the ticketing pavilion. The intent of the design is to use a very light touch that does not challenge the importance of the historic building. Next slide. This is something really excited about. The entry experience continues with a new 2-story hall with escalators, stair, and elevators leading to Kovler Hall that can be seen in the distance above the escalators. The entry hall in this level now includes many important guest services. Labeled on this floor plan to the right of the image are the relocated gift store, the info desk, a number of other visitor services, access to the elevators to Wild Reef, and a new hallway that takes you directly into the ocean area. So the accessible entrance now is a real hub that connects to many other features of the Shed experience. Next slide. Kovler Hall remains a timeless, wonderful place where people start their Shed experience, whether they enter through the historic west entrance or the enhanced accessible entrance. The effect of all these changes is to dramatically improve the capacity and speed of moving visitors into the building and to increase badly needed visitor services. Next slide. The GFRC will be color matched to the historic marble facade and used as the walls and ceilings of the 2 new pavilions. Terrazzo and a bathymetric pattern will be used in both new pavilions and the new entry hall. Working with the Chicago Bird Collision Monitors, we are committed to using the most effective bird-safe glass technology, which is with images of it in the lower right-hand corner of this material board. Next slide. The 2 photos on the left illustrate the existing condition of the North Terrace. As I said, the foundation has failed and the terrace badly needs to be rebuilt. The 2 renderings on the right illustrate how the terrace is being extended 10 feet to the north. Existing marble will be harvested and recut to rebuild the terrace. If we go to the next slide, you'll see the reason for the need for this expansion. The expansion of the North Terrace is required to provide the necessary life support equipment for 2 very large new habitats and new smaller habitats that will be built in the North Gallery. The design includes a series of ramps, creating an accessible route from the gallery level down to the ocean area. That accessibility is something that's really been missing from the Shed experience, and we think this is an exciting improvement. To support these exhibits, the Shed will also construct an overhead service deck, which will be used by Shed staff to service these habitats. Next slide. For the most part, the roof of the new service deck will be lower than the existing parapet. One visible improvement will be the removal of the cooling tower shown in the photograph on the left that can be seen from DuSable Lakeshore Drive. The only thing that will be above the parapet level is a small elevator override and a rebuilt mechanical penthouse. These will be 3'5" higher and 5'11" higher, respectively, for these 2 elements. Next slide. We've included all 4 elevations of the Shed Aquarium with these improvements, but in the interest of time, I suggest we just move through these. We can come back to them during discussion. And what I'd like to do is introduce Brad McCauley of Site Design to brief you on the landscaping and our sustainable strategies.
All right, thanks, Joe. Nice to see everyone. Good morning. As Joe mentioned, Brad McCauley with Site Design Group, landscape architect for the project. I'm going to try and save a little bit of time because I know we had some tech issues up front, so I'll go a little bit faster, but I'll catch you up. So for this, you're seeing the proposed site plan for this. North is up. I just want to go through a few things that, the big changes that we're going to do here. So starting at the northwest corner, Joe had mentioned there's going to be some work done there to introduce some life support systems for the new exhibits, as well as, some of the building is failing. So to repair this area, we're going to remove kind of the end of life crabapple allays. There's several dead and certainly not servicing the area, and replace it with more native, more natural understory and shade trees. We're going to frame the views of the city and just really make this what it should be. Something that's really elegant, really natural, really something quite nice. Working your way clockwise around the building, where you see the 2 and 3. There's an existing picnic grove that most people don't know about. We're going to enhance that with some shade trees and really make it even more prominent, even better spot to go have lunch on the lake. 4 is existing prairie path. We want to make sure that that's maintained. We have nice native pollinator gardens there. And then really getting into the bulk of the area we're going to have some impact is down where you see the 5. That's the existing drop off where Joe talked about, over 80% of the visitors come through this area and they don't know where to go unless they take a left and you have to jog around. It's really a little bit of a maze to get where you need to go. With that, we're going to enhance this area. So right when you get out, right when you see the zone, you know which way to go and you're pulled through the landscape with new enhanced native pollinator gardens, rain gardens, hearing some of the advice from the COD, making sure that we're putting larger trees in here that really break down the scale and really kind of start to create that world of wonder outside of the museum. Where you see the 9, where the man and fish statue is as well. This is an opportunity to really start engaging with both the exhibits as well as the staff and team from the Shedd Aquarium and really start making this, something more. You can go to the next slide. Open space impacts. Currently, there's 117,000 square feet. Where you see the magenta kind of pink areas, that's where we're going to have our impact. So we're moving about 6,000 square feet of open space. But I will say the main impact is really that sliver where we need to add the life support and where the building is crumbling there on the north. At the southwest, you see where that is. It's existing hardscape. That's the new accessible entrance in the kiosk. So we're replacing concrete with these buildings and really enhancing the landscape everywhere else. And then the next slide, the Sustainable Development Matrix. Hopefully you're all very familiar with this, so I will keep this one short. Long story short, we are required to get 25 points. We're actually going to get 55 points, and we're going to do that through a lot of the things that you'd want to see on the lake. So butterfly gardens, native species, bird protection, all those kinds of things. As part of our plan for this one. So with that, I will transition this over to Alicia, who's gonna talk a bit more. Thank you.
You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
I sound like that commercial, huh? Thanks again, Brad. And good morning, everyone. For the record, I am Alicia Garcia Abner. I'm the president of Trino Inc., and we are a local MBE WBE diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting firm celebrating 25 years in business this October. We are engaged by Shedd to assist with the development, facilitation, monitoring, and reporting on this fabulous project. As discussed earlier, the Shedd has been engaged in a number of outreach efforts, which also included a virtual pre-proposal conference held last May in 2021, where Alderman King was a speaker, and that procurement effort resulted in Pepper, BMI, acronyms for Brown Moment Inc. LLC, was selected as the construction management company on the project. Note that Shedd has self-imposed a number of diversity-related goals, which include MBE at a minimum of 26% and WBE at a minimum of 6% of the total adjusted contract amount. Additionally, Shedd self-imposed workforce hiring program goals, such as 50% of the total on-site labor hours with residents residing in Chicago, 25% of the total on-site labor hours shall be combined minority and female workforce hours, and 3% of the total on-site combined hours for laborers and non-trade workers with community residents. Preference will be given to residents who reside in the 4th Ward and surrounding areas. Now, as I just mentioned these goals, understand that these goals are the floor, not the ceiling. Shedd has also looked at how to engage high school students. We approached CPS's CTE representatives, and when Shedd mentioned its intention of incorporating a criteria of encouraging contractors to commit to engaging with the local high schools through CPS's Career Training and Education Work-Based Learning Program, and looking at their guest speaker series, site visits, their soft skill months, and the summer internship program, representatives from CPS acknowledged that no entity at that time has ever incorporated such language in its procurement solicitations. We are the first. Internships will start next year with schools such as Dunbar Career Academy High School, their Chicago Builds program, and William Jones College Prep High School, and other high schools as well. These commitments will allow for real life experience for our students, not just in construction. And understand, diversity has always been embraced by SHED. It's reflected in their aquatic ecosystem when you walk through the door. So I'm going to turn it over to Bridget O'Keefe.
Thank you, Alicia.
Oh,
Just to summarize our project and the benefits it will provide and how it complies with the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance. SHED will continue its role as a premier Chicago cultural institution with the goal of increasing its attendance from 1.9 to 2.3 million, and it will continue to serve 160,000 children annually. This project will, as has been discussed, improve the visitor experience while respecting the cultural treasure that is the SHED Aquarium. The SHED will enhance Chicago's lakefront through the additional landscaping that will be added and the outdoor programming that will be brought to the visitors to the museum campus. SHED will continue its mission of conservation and sustainability while modernizing its animal habitats. And finally, this project will offer significant employment and contracting opportunities for Chicagoans and local businesses, including the creation of 300 jobs annually for the next 4 years for construction purposes and 65 new permanent jobs. So this completes our formal presentation. Our team is available to answer any questions you all may have, and we appreciate very much your consideration of the SHED's application for lakefront protection. Thank you.
Thank you. The Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the project materials submitted by the applicant and has concluded that this proposal is in compliance with the applicable policies of the Lakefront Plan of Chicago and the purposes of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance, such as enhancing the character of the lakeshore parks by providing landscape improvements to the area adjacent to the aquarium, providing gardens and lawn space to allow rain runoff to be absorbed, increasing the diversity of recreational opportunities by adding additional outdoor exhibits, gardens, and programming and play areas for visitors, providing garden areas that include native plants, a vegetable garden, and a butterfly area that provides refuge for wildlife, and providing enhanced security screening system at the expanded accessible entrance. Please refer to my staff report for further details regarding this project and plans presented here today. Based on the foregoing, it is the recommendation of the zoning administrator of the Department of Planning and Development that this application, being in conformance with the provisions of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance, be approved, subject to compliance with the plans presented to you here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Do the commissioners have any questions of the staff or the applicant? I don't believe I see any hands. Is Alderman King or her staff here to make a statement, or is there a letter on
Vice Chair,
file?
we have one hand, no, two hands just popped up last second.
Okay. Commissioner Escanarino?
Yes, good morning. So I'm going to recuse myself. I will not be voting on this item, but I just want to, again, just echo some of the great aspects and features of this project. The Chicago Park District is very proud to be a partner in this project. And we think that this is a wonderful expansion and really a transformative way to welcome all of our residents, but also visitors from across the world. Certainly the educational component and the number of children and families that will benefit as a result of this expansion and the learning that will take place on museum campus, on park grounds. We are just very excited. And again, thank you to the SHED leadership and certainly we're extremely happy about this project. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And my apologies. I believe I missed Prentice Butler from the 4th Ward, Chief of Staff. Mr. Butler.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you. On behalf of Alderman King, my name is Prentice Butler. I'm Chief of Staff. It's been extremely gratifying to work with the SHED team on this project. We believe the Lakefront campus or the museum campus is a crown jewel of our fourth ward. And we know it's an epicenter for tourism in the city of Chicago, so we're happy to support this project. The SHED team has been transparent in their attempts to meet with the public and to hear public comments about the project. We're happy about this moving forward. And we look forward to this campus being completed in the near future because we know this is going to be a great experience for the public and for the entire community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. I believe we have a question from Commissioner Lyons.
Yes, thank you so much for this presentation. Great to see all the support in the public comments, the written comments too. Clear it's been a real community-driven process here. Just a quick follow-up question. I think there was a mention of 65 permanent jobs. Wondering if you could speak a little bit about what types of jobs those that we can expect for the permanent jobs.
Thank you, Commissioner Lyons. I'm going to defer that question to Dr. Coughlin.
Thank you, Commissioner Lyons. There's a variety of jobs that will be scaled because of this. So for context, Shedd Aquarium is about a 400 FTE employee base currently. We have internal internships so that there is career laddering and development at all levels. It may be a guest relations staff that does an internal internship with an aquarist, either freshwater or marine biologist. Again, a real commitment to internal career laddering for the entire One Shed 400 employee base. The added employees will be one, to help scale and welcome our guests, to help scale and take care of the new habitats, and of course, the gardens and the outdoor programming as well. So really sort of a cross sector from education to guest relations to animal care and facilities.
Thank you.
Thank you for that response. Are there any other questions from the commissioners? With that, do I have a motion on the proposed Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance application submitted by the Shedd Aquarium Society and the Chicago Park District for a property generally located at 1200 South DuSable Lakeshore Drive, finding that it meets the requirements for approval? Do I have a motion?
This is Garza. I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Garza. Seconded by?
Seconded by Barclay.
Thank you, Commissioner Barclay. Is there any discussion by the commissioners on this motion? If not, I'd like to do a roll call. Commissioner Barclay.
Yes.
Commissioner Biaggi. Commissioner Burnett.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Brumfield is a yes. Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Escarino has recused herself. Commissioner Flores. Commissioner Garza.
Yes.
Commissioner Lightfoot. Commissioner Lyons has recused herself. Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
I think, Vice Chair, I think Commissioner Lyons is okay on this one.
That's correct. Vote is yes.
My apologies. Thank you for that correction, Noah. Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy. Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Novara.
Yes.
Commissioner Osterman. Commissioner Pinheiro.
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes. And that was my error. Commissioner Searle, I believe, has recused herself from this. Thank you. Commissioner Sposata. Commissioner Tunney.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Villegas.
Yes.
And Commissioner Wagasback. Motion passes. Congratulations to the Shedd Aquarium team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on, a proposed residential business plan development submitted by Sacred Apartment Developer LLC for the property generally located at 3211, 3277 East 92nd Street and 9200 to 9242 South Burley Avenue. The applicant is proposing to rezone the site from B2-2 Neighborhood Mixed Use District and RS2 Residential Single Use District to a B2-3 Neighborhood Mixed Use District, and then to a residential business plan development. The applicant proposes to construct a 5-story, approximately 64-foot tall, 81-unit, all affordable residential building with approximately 6,000 square feet of ground floor retail and 44 total parking spaces. Item number 20961 is located in the 10th Ward. Jasmine Gunn will provide the context overview and the applicant will present their proposal. Ms. Gunn.
Yes, and would tech support mind disabling my screen share?
You should be fine now, Jasmine.
Yes, okay, thank you. Can everyone see my screen? Yes. Great.
I'm getting a split screen.
I wish I knew what program you were in. I'd be able to help you, but
I'm in
I think if you
PowerPoint.
just said duplicate slideshow, it'll give
Oh, it'll
you-
show both.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
that's okay. Take your time.
One more time, then I'll just switch to PDF if this does not work.
It's okay.
There you go.
Here we go.
Great.
Oops, we almost had you.
Okay. I will just,
If you were in PowerPoint, I believe you could go to lower right. There should be a large screen.
You could also hit F5.
Yes, there you go. That should do it.
okay.
There we
Perfect.
go.
Oh,
For a second, anyways.
For a second.
okay, it's coming and going.
Looks like it's trying to stabilize here.
I will,
You don't have to go full screen. If you can just have the slides on the left,
okay.
because that was showing right there.
All right. Okay, well, good morning, commissioners. I apologize for the technical difficulties. For the record, my name is Jasmine Gunn with the Department of Planning and Development, and this is a proposed development generally located at 3211 to 3277 East 92nd Street, 9200 to 9242 South Burley Avenue. This is located within the South Chicago community area in the 10th Ward, and the applicant is Sacred Developer LLC. And there is a partnership between Interfaith Housing Development Corporation and Clarishan Associates. The architect is Landable Baker Architects and the attorney is Dykema. This request is being submitted as a mandatory plan development application because the applicant proposes a total unit count above the threshold set forth in the B2-3 underlying zoning. The subject site is located in the South Chicago community area, where the total population is 27,300. The population has seen a decrease in 29% between 2000 and 2020. 79% of the population is English speaking and 21% is non-English speaking, with predominantly Spanish speaking households. 37% use transit as their main mode of travel to work. 93% of the housing stock was built before 1970. And in terms of demographics, the median age is 34. And for race, Black makes up 76.5%, Hispanic or Latino is 19.8%, White is 2.8%, Asian is 0.3%, and other races is 0.6%. The proposed project is located on the block bounded by East 92nd Street to the north, Burley Avenue on the east, and an alley to the south. The Calumet River is nearby, as well as a number of schools and parks. And in addition to a number of CTA bus stops, the site is within a quarter mile of the Metro Electric 93rd Street station, which makes this project qualify for TSL reductions. Additionally, the project site is located along the South Chicago and West Southwest corridor, highlighted in red on this map. In regards to zoning, the site highlighted in red here is currently zone B2-2 and RS-2 and will be unified under a B2-3 zoning district prior to establishing a residential business plan development. As shown in the aerial here, there's a large senior housing development across the street that a member of the applicant team, Claretian Associates, did help bring to fruition. As well as on the northeast corner, there is a multi-family unit development called Casa Kirk Apartments that the applicant team, Interfaith Housing and Claretian Associates, partnered on to build as well. So the applicant team does have experience developing projects in this area. Additionally, nearby, there is existing 3-story and 2-story buildings. So this slide here just shows some context, a larger area context of the architectural character of the community. South Chicago is a neighborhood where there did used to be the USX steel mill. So the area has an industrial manufacturing past, and there's a lot of steel and brick used in materials throughout. This slide here shows the pedestrian context of the project. At the top, you can see the view along 92nd Street, and it should be noted that these two buildings here, where the project site is located, are in very disrepair. In fact, the back is falling down and it presents a current danger right now. So those two buildings will be demolished to make way for the new development, new construction development. In the middle, you can see the view along 92nd Street, looking east and looking west. And at the bottom, you can see the view along Burley Avenue, looking north and looking west. In terms of planning context, there are many relevant community plans who either had strategies in support of this project or who had this project specifically listed in it. This is dating back to 2007. Some of those plans include the South Chicago Quality of Life Plan, the Calumet River Framework Plan, the Southeast Side Visioning Plan. And in 2019 and 2020, this project, Sacred, the proposed project, was listed as a Chicago Prize application project as well. They did make it to the finalists, but they were not selected as winners. However, in 2021, they were selected to get a grant. The Chicago Prize proposal was selected to get a grant with Fifth Third Bank in a partnership. And this project specifically was awarded the DOH 2022 LIHTC Award. With all the information, I will now pass it over to Jennifer Stankovich, who is the architect for the applicant team.
Thank you, Jasmine. For the record, I'm Jennifer Stanovich, project architect with LBBA. Joining me today with the rest of the team is Corey Davis with Claretian Associates and Perry Vietti from Interfaith Housing Development Corporation, who are co-developers on the project, and Andrew Scott from Dykema, the project's attorney. The initiative to develop Sacred started over 10 years ago. Since then, the project has developed and evolved based on feedback from the community and city agencies into what we're going to show here today. We work together on a series of charrettes with the community focused on different scales of interactions with the neighborhood. Next slide. These meetings provided valuable insight into what the community needed and wanted to see in the neighborhood and on this site. Notable discussion points included the need for diverse, affordable housing options and a grocery store, public murals and art to express the ethnic diversity of the neighborhood, and a sustainably focused development. Next slide. Following these charrettes with the community, several design options were developed. The design also evolved based on the acquisition of land parcels to the south, allowing for more units and exterior space to be accommodated. Next slide. The design continued to develop after the successful application for low-income housing tax credits and feedback from city agencies. Options were reviewed and discussed collaboratively, and the preferred options shown here was refined. Next slide. Moving into the site and ground floor plan, this shows the proposed site for the project. On the left-hand side is 92nd Street, the more commercial corridor, and the top is Burleigh Avenue, the more residential side. An L-shaped building is proposed on the site to complement the urban context. The form allows for the continuation of the street wall along 92nd and the efficient use of the remainder of the space for ground floor residential units. The site also includes a generous backyard space for residents featuring multiple patio areas, playgrounds, and a multi-sport court. On the far south end of the site is a 44-space parking lot to serve the residents of the building. We'll note that minimal landscaping is shown on 92nd Street and the north end of Burleigh because these areas will be integrated into a future CDOT Invest Southwest streetscape project that's planned for 2025. The project will revitalize the streetscape along 92nd Street and up Commercial Avenue. So we didn't want to plant and do things that would just get demolished shortly thereafter. Next slide. The 5-story building will accommodate 81 total units at a variety of scales, from studios up to 4-bedroom, 2-bath family units to support the diverse population and needs of the neighborhood. The floor plate's efficiently planned while providing subtle variation and natural light within the corridors to enhance the common area experience. Next slide. These typical unit plans show the different unit types. All the units will feature generous kitchens with dining and living areas. The larger units will include 2 bathrooms and generous storage to support families. All the unit interiors will be outfitted with warm and attractive yet durable finishes and fixtures. Next slide. This rendering shows the northeast corner of the building with Burleigh Avenue to the left and 92nd Street on the right. The ground floor along 92nd Street on the right will feature commercial space to enliven the street, and the quieter Burleigh Avenue on the left will have ground floor residential units buffered from the sidewalk. Next slide. The residential entry will be featured prominently along Burleigh Avenue, integrating a large mural responding to community feedback. The landscape around the building will also feature sustainably focused native plantings. In this view, you can see how the landscape and the low walls and fencing is strategically planned to help shield the ground floor units from the sidewalk activities. Next slide. The north building elevation shown in this rendering along 92nd Street shows that the commercial facade is featured prominently in the design to integrate it into the urban context of the neighborhood. Here you can see the building is appropriately scaled to the neighboring structures while providing the density needed in this transit-served location. Next slide. The following slides show various elevations in more detail of the building, but we can just click through them, Jasmine. I'll just note that the building is designed within a framework to allow for efficiency, but the structure is interrupted with areas of color and texture to give the building a unique character, as seen in the renderings. The site is particularly challenging to develop due to it being significantly sunken below the adjacent street. And the majority, I'll note the majority of the property has been vacant since the late 1990s. Slide. The 5-story building will have a maximum height of around 80 feet to integrate with the neighborhood scale. Next. So taking cues from the significant neighborhood buildings that Jasmine showed earlier in the presentation, the facades will feature primarily brick cladding with a few areas of fiber cement panels to help break down the overall massing of a rather long building. Areas of textured brick accents are used to add depth and character to the brick portion of the building, while colorful accent panels are included to create variety. At the commercial space along 92nd Street, larger areas of aluminum storefront will be provided to allow for good visibility for the commercial tenant. Portions of colorful metal panel and contrasting brick are also included here to integrate the base of the building with the overall architecture. Next slide. Because of its close proximity to the South Chicago 93rd Street Metro Station, the site is a transit-served location. However, a substantial number of vehicle and parking spaces are going to be provided on site for the residents, 44 parking spaces and 54 bicycle parking spaces. Next slide. The project maintains a pedestrian-friendly urban design by maintaining sidewalks, providing large storefront glazing along 92nd, avoiding blank walls, and creating a welcoming residential entry. Next slide. The landscape design is integrated into all areas of the site, especially the large backyard area. Planting will be used to break up that space into different zones to support the diverse population of that the building will attract, from playground areas to small intimate patio areas to large community gathering areas. I'll note that Claretians is currently developing a nature play space at the east end of 92nd Street, and this site has been designed to complement that space and avoid redundancy in programming and functions. A generous amount of trees and landscaping is also provided around the parking lot to help shade that area. Next slide. During the community charrettes for the project, sustainability was noted as a major priority. This has led the design team throughout the design. To comply with the city's sustainability development policy, the project will pursue Enterprise Green Community certification. We're targeting a few strategies to obtain the additional points required by the policy, and the project will strive to include as many above that requirement as possible. The project will comply with the stormwater management ordinance. Stormwater detention vault will be included below the parking area to control the on-site water in the event of a 100-year storm. The development will also fund a new green alley on the west side of the site. However, as a part of the public right-of-way, CDOT will maintain this alley after the initial construction. For the next slide, I'll turn it over to Perry Vietti to talk about the unit types and income restrictions.
Thanks, Jennifer. My name is Perry Vietti, and I'm the president of Interfaith Housing Development Corporation. We're co-developing this, as Jennifer mentioned, with Claretian Associates, the same organization that we did Casa Kirk about 17 years ago, right across the street. So the income types and the income restrictions, this is a very rich building, I would say, in that regard. Not only is it large, but you see we have a tremendous mix of unit types, all the way from studios through 4 bedrooms. You also can see that we have a real mix of income types, all affordable. So the entire building is eligible under the low-income housing tax credit program. But you see we have a range of 30% AMI units, specifically targeting formerly homeless households, 50% AMI units, as well as 60% AMI. The homeless units you can see are scattered by unit type. This is kind of unique. Interfaith Housing has a number of units in its portfolio that serves formerly homeless families and individuals, but it's really hard to come by large units for that population. And this development addresses that, at least in part. You can see some of the homeless units are studios all the way through 4 bedrooms. Next slide. So, we have a situation here where so many public benefits, I believe, for this development. We have 2 organizations, 2 nonprofit organizations that are recognized by HUD as community housing development organizations, CHODOs, that are doing this together. As I said, we did Casa Kirk before, and now we're working again to do a development in the community. So strong nonprofit leadership. A lot of communities, unfortunately, in Chicago suffer from a lack of food access, and this is being addressed as part of this plan. A small commercial grocery store will be located on the 92nd Street elevation, as Jennifer mentioned. It complements existing city investments. So the city has invested in this entire area, as I said, Casa Kirk to the north, and the Pathway elderly developments, 2 of them immediately across Burley to the east of our site. So this will sort of complete the package, if you will. All 3 corners will have new developments that have been built in the last 20 years. Transit-oriented, Metra is literally a block away. That's the end of the Metra South Shore electric line. And so that is readily accessible from our site. And CTA stops literally at the corner at 92nd and Burley, and there's other bus lines besides the one that stops in front of our building. So I would say it's transit rich. a lot of large units here. You know, a lot of developments that are built with low-income housing tax credits are not 3 and 4 bedrooms, but you can see here we have studios all the way through 3 and 4 bedroom units, large units that can serve families. And I like the mix that we're going to be serving individuals and families together in the same development. We're putting property that's off the tax rolls back into the tax rolls. Low-income housing tax credit projects do pay property tax. And so, you know, that will be a benefit to the community. And then, of course, the sales tax that will be garnered from the commercial grocery store. The Chicago Prize recognized, I forget how many projects were part of the Chicago Prize competition a couple of years ago, 60 or more, I believe. We were one of the 6 finalists. Unfortunately, we did not get the final prize. But through that strategic planning effort and in years past, I think we have a very strong community-oriented development that is addressing what the community itself wants. In Best Southwest neighborhood, it's part of that corridor, as Jennifer mentioned. And then, of course, as in all of our developments, we're going to certainly meet and hopefully exceed the MBE, WBE requirements, the city hiring requirements that is part of this development.
All right, thank you. The Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicants, and we have concluded that the proposed development would be appropriate for the following reasons. It complies with all the planned development standards and guidelines, and specifically the proposed development is compatible with the character of the surrounding area. It promotes pedestrian interest, safety, and comfort, and the primary pedestrian entrances do have significant focal elements and more. Please refer to my staff report for further details regarding this project and the plans identified here today. And based on the foregoing, it is the recommendation of the zoning administrator and the Department of Planning and Development in this application to establish a residential business plan development be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gunn. Do the commissioners have any questions of the staff or the applicant? I believe I see 2 hands raised. Just trying to scroll up. Commissioner Navarro.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have a question. I simply want to say thank you to Claretian Associates and Interfaith. All the things that Perry just ran through, I think I just want to double down on how important they are to us as a department. The fact that we're serving people experiencing homelessness, that we're serving people at 30% of the area median income, both are very, very important to us as a department. And as he mentioned, going all the way from studios to 4 bedrooms is rare and is also very important, that we're reaching a range of household sizes. And I also want to note, as much as, you know, I am a Department of Housing, but I also know that housing isn't the only thing that communities need. So the fact that this is also bringing a grocery store and that it's located near Metra and bus is very, very important to us. And we were very excited to support this in our last funding round. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Pinheiro, followed by Commissioner Moore.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Very interesting project, and it's certainly designed to fit with a lot of the needs of the community. It was made clear during the presentation on the housing front. Can you also, I heard the grocery store discussion, but can you also expand a little bit on the commercial side of the project in terms of how it's the vision for the commercial side and how it's expected or visualized to meet the needs of the community?
Sure. So Corey Davis, Claretian Associates, Senior Real Estate Program Manager. Speaking to how it benefits the community, currently there are some small community grocery stores in the neighborhood that people can go to, La Fruteria being one of them. However, we envision this space adding to the options that people in the neighborhood have, maybe carrying groceries or items that are currently not accessible there, so it'd be able to expand the economics and shopping ability of persons directly in the South Chicago neighborhood.
Yeah, Mr. Davis, just to clarify, I just wanted to understand, is the commercial solely grocery, or is there more visualized for the commercial space beyond just the grocery? And that's what I wanted to understand. What's the vision beyond that?
Right now, we envision it being occupied mainly by grocery.
It's only 6,500 square feet, so the goal is to create a space that would be suitable for a small grocer, but there really isn't enough room to do anything else.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Moore.
Thank you. Wonderful project. Thank you so much for the presentation. Being a lifetime Southsider, it's very nice to see something on the Southeast side. And I applaud the Claretians and the other organizations who are working down there and building up the area. I am not an architect by any means, but I did have a question on the layout. It was on the site plan where the parking lot was. I don't know if you could pull that back up. Yes, right there. So on one of them, I thought I saw the bike parking sort of in the middle of the parking lot. And it just struck me that that might not be safe, or it seems like if I was on a bicycle and I had to maneuver through the parking lot to get to the center, that could be a little dangerous. So I was just curious about that.
I'm not sure where you saw that, but that definitely isn't an intent to have any bike parking within the parking lot area. We have distributed the bike parking throughout the site. You can see some on 92nd Street, a bunch sprinkled throughout the backyard, and some at the south edge of the building to give people and visitors a variety of places to park their bikes.
Okay, so maybe I missed something. Could we see right there? See where the bike parking?
Yeah, it just has a long leader to pointing to a different area. Sorry for the confusion on that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore. I believe we do have someone from Alderman Setlowski Garza's office here to make a statement, or is there a letter on file?
Yes, her staff is here. John, are you still there?
And I will say they do have a letter of support on file as well.
Hold on, and let me try this again. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah, this is John Haroff. I'm here to represent the Alderwoman. We do have a letter on file. I just want to say that she is strongly supportive of this project, particularly because there are very few housing developments that have 3 and 4 bedrooms that are affordable, which this provides. Also close to transportation for both active bus lines and the South Chicago Metro Station, so that people who are living there should have plenty of transportation options. And finally, this does activate a long vacant parcel. While I was here waiting for the meeting, I just did a little check. I personally have put in graffiti on those vacant buildings 9 times this year alone. So it is an eyesore currently, and this would really beautify it and activate that space and hopefully bring in some more people and make it more accessible and comfortable for the seniors who live adjacent to it to walk to the Metro, so they're not going by a bunch of vacant buildings.
Thank you, John. I'd like to take this back to the commissioners, Commissioner Cox, followed by Commissioner Lyons.
Thank you. Not a question, but I did want to just acknowledge the development team and their architects in producing something that I think is really an exemplary piece of affordable housing. The integration of, if you could put, Jasmine, could you put an image of the project? I think the integration of retail to help 92nd Street, and I have a feeling that that will spur the redevelopment of the adjacent buildings, existing buildings, helps to make a physical bridge and activate the street and connecting it to the main commercial corridor. I think that the integration of ground floor units which we don't see, so they have both the retail line front, but then they transition to the quieter side, which allows for ground floor units, and that means accessibility, and that means families with children being able to access the playground. I just think it's a really, really smart design. So LBBA, congratulations. And for the development company to see the arc of their advocacy for design quality, being that they have 3 different periods of their development at the same intersection. The growth, it's unusual when a housing development corporation can see the growth of their own practice on a single intersection. And I think this is, I think it's going to be lauded as an important piece of the neighborhood. So just congratulations to the entire design and development team.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Lyons, followed by Commissioner Escarino.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. And I apologize if I missed this. Could you speak to who is the general contractor, and then any plans on workforce diversity or hiring plans for the construction of this project?
Commissioner, we haven't made a final determination of who the contractor is going to be. We've been working with Henry Brothers to do the bidding for the pricing at this point. But it looks like it's going to be a joint venture. There's a couple local general contractors in the area that would be most likely partnering with that development team, whatever contractor we end up choosing. Sorry, the other part of your question was the hiring. I'm sorry.
Yes, just the plan or any goals on the diversity of the construction workforce or the hiring plans to engage the local residents.
Well, my partner, Angela Herlock, the executive director of Claretian, I don't think I've ever met anyone who is more passionate about that very issue. So she's going to make sure that happens here. Certainly, we have Section 3 requirements because of the home money that's coming into this project. But beyond those federal requirements, we will certainly make sure that the workforce looks like the community in which they're going to be building. Again, Angela won't let me do it any other way. So I can assure you that will happen.
Yeah, Corey Davis again, just hopping in to piggyback off of what Perry said. We're very big on trying to make sure that any project that we work on is representative of the community, and at least give our best efforts, most due diligence that we can. So one effort that we have actually started on with smaller projects is working with local MNWBE associations that implore local MNWBE talent in the construction trades. So we're currently building this relationship now on smaller projects in hopes that potentially we'll be able to bring a little more to the table on the MNWBE front when this project actually.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Escarino.
Very brief. I wasn't actually going to say anything, but what I really like about and appreciate about this project is that it really is providing those landscaping areas and play areas for children, really making it more of a community, not just addressing the housing component. It really embraces the total feel of community and adding as much landscape areas. And I absolutely love really building a community space for children and families. And so that is so important to these projects, especially as we're trying to ensure that kids enjoy outdoor space and really get out of the home into the community. Activating these communities with people outdoors is so critical to all these projects. So just wanted to make that statement. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I do have a comment, and it really builds on a number of things that have already been said. The architecture is once again a very stellar by Lander Baker. Appreciate the design effort on this, and also the real focus on creating protected outdoor space that's really will serve as a really good refuge here for the residents. But more importantly, I do appreciate the thorough explanation by you, Mr. Vietti, about the broad range of unit sizes that you're introducing here. I think Commissioner Navarro mentioned this. It's rare that you see this number of 3 and especially 4 bedrooms in a mixed income housing development. So I really appreciate and also applaud you for the effort to really serve the community and meeting the needs here of the community. So just a strong applause to you and your team for an outstanding project.
Thank you.
With that, are there any more comments or questions from the commissioners? If not, do I have a motion on the proposed residential business plan development submitted by Sacred Apartments Developer LLC for the property generally located at 3211, 3277 East 92nd Street and 9200, 9242 South Burley Avenue, finding that it meets the requirements for approval? Do I have a motion?
So moved, Novara.
Second by Commissioner Searle.
Moved by Commissioner Navarro, seconded by, I believe, Commissioner Searle and Garza. Thank you. With that, I would like to do a roll call. Commissioner Barclay.
Yes.
Commissioner Biaggi. Commissioner Burnett.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Brumfield is a yes. Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Escarino.
That's a yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores. Commissioner Garza.
Yes.
Commissioner Lightfoot. Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Commissioner Navarra.
Yes.
Commissioner Osterman. Commissioner Pinheiro.
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes. Commissioner Searle.
Yes, and also a very nice project.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sposata. Commissioner Tunney.
Yes.
Commissioner Villegas. Commissioner Villegas. Commissioner Wagasback. And the motion does pass. Congratulations to the team. Very excited to see this effort move forward, and certainly will be a jewel here for the community.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone.
Moving on, a proposed amendment to plan development number 1518 submitted by the applicant 63rd Street Maryland LLC for property located at 83561 East 63rd Street, 6101 25 South Maryland Avenue. The amendment to the plan development will correct an error in the boundary description approved as part of residential business plan development number 1518 as designed by the Chicago Plan Commission on August 26, 2021, and approved by City Council on September 14, 2021. No other changes to the plan development are proposed. Number 20922, located in the 4th Ward. Lisa Washington will provide the context overview, and the applicant will present their proposal. Ms. Washington.
Thank you. I'm disabled from screen sharing. There we go.
You should be okay. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, don't know why that is on. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
All righty, here we go. Okay. Back here.
There we go.
Thank you. Looks like it's side by side. That's not good.
Well, you're fine on our end.
Okay,
Lisa.
great. Good morning, still morning, yes. Chairman and members of the commission. I am Lisa Washington, the lead planner for the Southeast Planning Region with the Department of Planning and Development. The item before you today is an amendment for PD 1518. This is due to boundary description, an error in the boundary description approved by this commission in September 2021. The applicant, 63rd Maryland LLC and representative of their development team are here today for that purpose to seek an amendment to this PD 1518. The project is located in the Woodlawn community area with a population of 24,000 square feet. I'm going to run through these slides quickly since you've already seen this to get to the point of the purpose of this action. This neighborhood has a CTA green line that once ran down 63rd Street, but now terminates just west of the property at 63rd and Cottage Grove. Here's an aerial view of where the property is located and the PD. As you can see here, the zoning map reflects that the area in which this development is being built is now PD 1518. And here is the concern. The initial survey left out property here that should have been included in the survey when this project was initially presented. The project that was presented was a Park Station development, who the developer is Leon Walker or 63rd Maryland LLC. The property is located just west of Cottage Grove and 63rd Street. This is where the proposed development, here's 63rd and Cottage. And as you can see, we have a lot of activity around this intersection. The project as presented last fall does align with different past plans and studies. Most recently, the Woodlawn Consolidation Report. Here is the elevation from the northwest corner of 63rd and Maryland as was depicted last fall. Here's another shot of it looking west along 63rd Street. And so now I'm going to turn this over to Graham Grady, the attorney for the development team, who can go into more details regarding the survey and the boundary discrepancy.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you, Ms. Washington, Chairman Brumfield, members of the Chicago Plan Commission. My name is Graham Grady. I'm an attorney at the Taft Law Firm, and along with my colleague Sylvia Mikas, we're pleased to represent the developer and applicant here, 63rd Maryland LLC. Also available to answer questions today from DL3 Realty are Tanya Kadakia, and from Michael's Development, Ms. Andrea Keeney. We also have representatives of the project architect, Fitzgerald and Sons, Rick Whitney, Brian Dove, and Brina Ferguson. As Ms. Washington mentioned, the sole purpose for our presentation today is to amend the boundary description due to an error that was performed by the surveyor, which ultimately left out 823 square feet from this site area. I'm happy to go into the reasons that the surveyor made that mistake with regard to 1926 public way vacation and dedication and other details. But most importantly here today, there's no change in the building. The building is the same as previously approved by this body in terms of height, number of dwelling units, parking, et cetera. There actually are a few enhancements because the site's a little larger. There's a touch more landscaping and a little bit better site. I'm happy to answer any questions, but in view of the fact that this project has already been approved substantively by the board, I'm happy to answer any questions about the survey or anything about the project. But in view of the many projects you have today, I'd like to end it there. We do have a full slide deck and our whole team to answer questions as needed. We also are pleased that Alderwoman Taylor has provided a letter of support for this revision, and we are unaware of any opposition from the community or any other areas. We also would like to thank, in addition to Alderwoman Taylor, the terrific staff, Commissioner Navarro. You have a wonderful staff at Housing, and in particular, Commissioner Cox, your great team, Noah Safranek, Lisa Washington, and Patrick Brutus. With that, we'll answer any questions that you have, and thank you for your consideration.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the department has reviewed the changes regarding purpose for this amendment. And we feel that the project still meets the recommendations as proposed during the first initial presentation. It meets the purpose and criteria set forth in the zoning ordinance, and its adoption would not have any adverse impact on the public's health, safety, or welfare. So we're hoping that this can move forward with approval with zoning committee as well as city council.
Thank you, Lisa. Do the commissioners have any questions of the staff or the applicant? And I do not see any hands. I believe, Mr. Grady, you mentioned Alderman Taylor's letter of support, and that is on file, or is anyone here from the Alderman's office for a statement?
We submitted the letter yesterday to the
We have the
staff.
letter.
Yes.
Thank
We
you
have
for
the letter,
confirming that.
Chairman. You're all set.
Very good. Thank you. Do the commissioners have any additional questions for staff, the applicant, or the Alderman? If not, do I have a motion on the proposed amendment to Plan Development 1518 submitted by the applicant 63rd Maryland LLC for property located at 835-61 East 63rd Street, 6101 25 South Maryland Avenue, finding that it meets the requirements for your approval? Do I have a motion?
So moved by Commissioner Searle.
Second, that Pinheiro.
Thank you, Commissioner Searle and Pinheiro. Is there any discussion by commissioners on this motion? If not, I will go to roll call. Commissioner Barclay,
Yes.
Commissioner Biaggi, Commissioner Burnett,
Yes.
Commissioner Brumfield is a yes, Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Escarino, Commissioner Flores, Commissioner Garza,
Yes.
Commissioner Lightfoot, Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Navarra,
Yes.
Commissioner Osterman, Commissioner Pinheiro,
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes, Commissioner Searle,
Yes.
Commissioner Spazada, Commissioner Tunney,
Yes.
Commissioner Villegas,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagaspat. Motion passes. Thank you, team, again for presenting.
Thank you.
Chairman, thank you all for your service to Chicago on behalf of the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate that, Mr. Grady. The next item, a proposed residential business plan development submitted by Austin United Alliance Development Company LLC for the property generally located at 5200 to 5224 West Chicago Avenue to rezone the site from B3-1 Community Shopping District to B2-3 Neighborhood Mixed Use District, and into a residential business plan development. The proposed plan development will support the construction of a 6-story, 79.5-foot mixed income residential apartment building containing 78 dwelling units and 28 parking spaces, as well as the restoration of the landmark Larrabee Bank building into a commercial and office space. The overall FAR for the development shall not exceed 3.6. This is item number 21027, located in the 37th Ward. Mike Perella will provide the context overview and the applicant will present their proposal. Mr. Perella.
Thank you, Chairman. Let me just pull the presentation up. Now we'll begin. Should all see the presentation now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, and you can hear me. So good morning. Where are we? Still in the morning. Let's just say morning. For the record, my name is Michael Perella, project manager with the Department of Planning and Development. With me here today are members from the applicant team, the developer, Austin United Alliance Development Company LLC, their attorney Steve Friedman, and architects Tom Daly and Joe Valerio of Valerio DeWalt Train. The proposed development is generally located at 5200 to 5224 West Chicago Avenue in the Austin community area. The applicant, Austin United Alliance Development Company LLC, is an entity consisting of Heartland Housing and the Oak Park Regional Housing Center. They were created specifically to develop the property and are appearing here today for the purposes of changing the underlying zoning from B31 to B23, and then prior to establishing a residential business plan development. The proposal is a mandatory PD per section 17.80513A of the Chicago zoning ordinance, because the applicant proposes a total unit count above the threshold set forth by the B23 underlying zoning. This plan development amendment will facilitate the construction of the 6-story, 79.5-foot mixed income apartment building, featuring 78 units, 51 of which will be affordable, 28 parking spaces, 43 bike parking spaces, a completely restored Laramie Bank building, featuring a local bank branch, cafe, offices, and blues museum. The subject site is located in the Austin community area, 37th Ward, Alderman Mitts. The Austin community area is Chicago's second largest in terms of both land area and population. It's over 75% African American, but has been declining in population for the last decade or so. Like other West Side community areas, it experienced housing disinvestment, vacancy, and demolition, as well as a loss of jobs and commerce as people move to the suburbs and out of Chicago. A number of recent planning initiatives provide a framework for development in the area. Released in 2018, the Austin Forward Together Quality of Life Plan envisions a comprehensive strategy to restore the quality of life, which includes economic revitalization for the Austin neighborhood, safer neighborhoods for kids of all ages, revitalized community spirit, and a vibrant real estate market that supports homeowners and affordable housing. Recently, in 2020, the city completed the Soul City Chicago Avenue Corridor Plan, which envisions Chicago Avenue itself as a destination for African-American businesses, cultural venues, and entertainment. I think more interesting about than that even is that this site was subject to an RFP in 2020, released in August 20, under the city's Invest Southwest initiative. The city, through this RFP, sought qualified bids from developers to redevelop the vacant landmark former Laramie Bank building in Austin, and establish a number of goals in which they would like to see that development proceed, including community wealth building, affordable housing, design excellence, cultural inclusion and sense of place, of course, the preservation of the bank itself, walkability, equitable transit-oriented development, and vibrancy in the retail corridor. The applicant was one of 7 respondents who submitted bids to redevelop the site. We reviewed the bids and selected them in March of 2021 because their project best represented the goals of the RFP. The site sits at the northwest corner of Chicago Avenue and Laramie, 1 mile east of the border with Oak Park and just over half mile from the Green Line stop at Laramie. It is served by the number 66 Chicago bus, which makes it a transit-served location. This transit-served location will allow reductions to applicable parking standards, MLA reduction, FAR increase, and height increase above the standards set by the underlying zoning, all of which the developer will be taking advantage of as part of this project. The 57,877 square foot gross area site, about 34,254 net, will be divided into 2 sub-areas, sub-area A and B, A covering the residential portion, the new construction, B covering the existing Laramie Bank. It's currently zoned B31, as is the majority of the corridor along Chicago Avenue. And to the north and south, you find single-family homes and small apartment buildings, primarily zoned RS3. The corridor itself is a mix of 2- and 3-story commercial buildings, some small apartment buildings, drive-up retail. There's also a large amount of vacancy, vacant land, and underutilized properties. The landmark bank, which you see in the context shot here, holds that corner, that northwest corner of Laramie and Chicago. And although it has fallen into disrepair, the building is considered a premier example of Art Deco facade ornamentation within the city's neighborhoods. With that overview of the project, I will turn it over to the applicant team, who will take you through the specifics of their proposal.
Thank you, Mike. Excuse me. My name is Steve Friedland. I'm an attorney with Applegate and Thorne Thompson, representing the development team of Austin United Alliance Development Company. As Mike mentioned, Austin United is a joint venture between Oak Park Regional Housing Authority and Heartland Housing. Both of these entities are long-standing not-for-profits working in the affordable housing arena. Before I turn it over to the architects, I did just want to make sure I introduce the rest of the team. From Oak Park Regional Housing Authority, we've got Athena Williams, who's our executive director. From Heartland Housing, Mark Cruz, their senior director of real estate, and Ben Andrews, the project manager, are here. Our architects from Valerio DeWalt Train, Joe Valerio and Tom Daly, are both here as well. I would just want to reiterate to the point that Mike made. This site sits in the Chicago Avenue corridor. And while Mike alluded to a number of the projects that, or planning documents that brought this site forward as a development project, there's really a lot of activity within that corridor that Alderman Mitz and the city are really targeting. There's going to be a significant CDOT revamp of the Chicago Avenue streetscape. And there are a number of projects that are proposed in the area between Cicero Avenue and Austin Boulevard. And as you saw from the earlier slide, our site really falls right within that. So we're really a good a catalyst for, we think, a lot of that development. And again, as Mike noted, the project really has two components. We have the redevelopment of the historic Laramie State Bank, which will be redeveloped for office and commercial uses. And then the remainder of the block will contain a new 6-story, 78-unit residential building with a large open courtyard. With that, Joe, if you're on, if you want to take us through the planning slides, that would be great.
Would love to do that. Good afternoon, commissioners. Joe Valerio. Just wanted to start by talking about the design and how it's evolved since the review by the very first meeting of the Committee on Design in August of 2021, and then a number of discussions with DPD. We have made changes to the design, which we think improves the project. We now have committed to restoring the cornice on the Laramie State Bank, which is shown in this illustration. Another recommendation from the committee was to match the height and width of the bank with the height and width of the residential entry, which is at the corner of Latrobe and Chicago. And there are other changes which we've made, which we'll touch on as we go through the presentation. Next slide. This is an overhead view showing the bank at the corner, the residential entry at the opposite corner of Latrobe, and the 6-story residential wing and how they are arranged on the site. Next slide. This view illustrates how the design celebrates both the 20th century historic bank and the 21st century residential entry. Next slide. This shows the pedestrian context of Chicago Avenue with the conference room at the corner of Latrobe, the residential entry adjacent to it, and the community room that are all aligned along Chicago Avenue at this intersection. Next slide. The same view at dusk. We think the building will be exciting not only during the daytime, but during the evening, and will really add to the vitality of Chicago Avenue. Next slide. There will be a series of swinging gates which open the residential courtyard to everyone walking along the street and will be closed at night. Another change shown on level 5 and 6 of the north residential wing at the back of the site is a white frame that surrounds the windows in the elevator lobbies on these levels, and which extends above the roof to mask the mechanical penthouse. Next slide. A view inside that residential courtyard with the gates open. Local artists will be recruited to design both the gates and the mural on the west wall of the bank. Next slide. In a review by the State Historic Preservation Office, SHPO, the mural has been reduced in height and width to match the profile of the long demolished adjacent building. It seems like in order to preserve our funding, historic preservation funding, we couldn't cover up anything that was exposed in the original design of the bank. It has always been the plan to open the interior of the historic banking room to the courtyard. The bank will be restored by the Heartland Alliance, and then a community development corporation will recruit retail tenants to continue the revitalization of retail along Chicago Avenue. I should add that Athena Williams has already recruited interest by 2 different major national banks to occupy parts of the historic banking room. Now I'd like to ask Athena Williams to talk about community engagement. Athena, are you on the line?
I sure am. Good afternoon, everyone. For the record, my name is Athena Williams. The name of our agency is Oak Park Regional Housing Center, and I am the executive director. So a few things I would like to point out is, as Attorney Steve mentioned earlier, there is a lot of robust activity happening on the Chicago Avenue. So I just want to mention a few of those things, or just even share that there's over almost $1.2 million worth of restoration that's happening in the community. We're looking at a new fitness club for TNC Fitness. We have Elme Creations Event Space, Soul City Studios. Mr. Anthony Cleaners has done a great rehabilitation project, and there are several other projects that are taking place in the community. Some of the work that our team, Austin United Alliance, will be taking place to do as far as community outreach, we will be doing 2 newsletters that are going to hit 55,000 households per year. Our first newsletter has gone out already. It's gone out, and in addition to that, we'll be doing presentations with a couple of the major community partners, one which is the Leaders Network. We'll also be working with Alderman Miss Office to provide updates through her community meetings monthly. In addition to informing the community of the work that's taking place, we're also doing outreach that relates to the Austin Quality of Life Plan. And some of that outreach includes public safety. So we have recruited 24 ambassadors to work with us with this program so that we can enhance some of the block clubs in the area to address some of the public safety issues that are there. In addition to the public safety, we're addressing arts and culture. So we're working with the artist in residence, Ms. Antonia Ruppert, to put together an arts and culture committee, not just to work on the art around the Laramie State Bank, but to also bring more people together around art in that quarter. So that's just some of the work. Would you like me to continue, or should I pass it on to the next person?
Athena, probably should hand it back to me at this moment, if that's all right.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Okay. So this plan shows the site and ground floor plans, which remain much the same, but with a couple of important changes, which I'll cover on the next slide, please. So as requested by both the Committee on Design and DPD, the community space has been moved from the Latrobe corner to the now opens to the residential courtyard to the east. In addition, we had originally shown the bike storage in the unheated garage, and now the bike storage has been moved. It's the orange area on the plan, has been moved to internal room with a dedicated residential entry for people arriving and leaving on their bikes. That door is off of Latrobe. Next slide. The residential plan has remained much the same, except laundry, fitness, and a business center have been added to levels 2, 3, and 4. Of the apartments, 65% are affordable, including all 5 of the 3-bedroom units. Next slide. One of the features that we always had was amenity space on the 5th level that opened onto our rooftop terrace over the wing that extends to the corner of Latrobe and Chicago. By relocating the fitness and laundry rooms, we've now been able to add an additional community room to serve the residents on this level, with views to the west and doors that allow people to walk directly out onto that rooftop terrace. Next slide. Sixth floor remains basically unchanged. Next slide. The rooftop includes our mechanical penthouse and the planned array of photovoltaic cells. Next slide. The bank is 3 commercial levels with the restored parapet 56 feet in height, compared to our 6-story building, which is 5 residential levels over a level of parking, which is 70 feet tall. The difference between these two is only 14 feet. But we think it's important to make sure that the taller north wing of the residential building doesn't start dominating over the historic bank. Next slide. In the interest of time, I'm going to move through these next slides quickly. These include elevations. We can, of course, revisit this if there are questions. Next slide. South elevation. Next slide. West elevation. Next slide. North-south section. And the next slide is the east-west section. And then one other detail that was important was this section shows the cross section at the garage to the right in the illustration on the right. The intent is to fulfill the community request that the garage should be visible from the south elevation through to the alley to the north. Next slide. We've chosen to use a aluminum bar system, which will be anodized. It's pulled back from the edge of the residential tower so that the columns are visible that support the residential levels. If we go on to the next slide, you can see the how this will read. When you're aligned with the aluminum elements, you can see right through the parking area to the alley. But when you're at an angle oblique to the blades, it appears to be an opaque surface. Again, it will be anodized a light aluminum color. Next slide.
We are
Tom,
located.
Would you like to
Yep.
take over from here?
Sure.
Thank you.
We're located right at the intersection of Chicago and Laramie, both having bus routes. The 66 running along Chicago, which is a TSL bus route, and then the non-TSL running along Laramie, which is 57. Our parking entry is off of Latrobe on the west side of the building. We have 28 covered parking spaces, including the 2 accessible ones. As Joe mentioned, we have a total of 55 total bike spaces. 43 exist in that interior room that Joe described. We have an additional 12 that exist in the courtyard for both residents and visitors to use as well. And that, as Joe mentioned, that was a COD recommendation. Next slide, please. This is just a bringing back up the process we went through during the Invest Southwest competition effort. We studied multiple massing options for the site, eventually settling on the one that mirrored the bank building with a wing that extended south from an east-west bar that's set at the very north end of the site, creating both the courtyard in between, but also not diminishing the importance of the historic bank building. Next slide. This is one of the final images we produced for that competition phase. And this became the basis by which we developed further coming up to today. Next slide. The courtyard design itself, as Joe mentioned, there are multiple swinging gates that exist in the middle of the block, allowing access during the day to the neighborhood. Inside the courtyard, we have both wings, both the residential building and the bank building, open directly onto that courtyard, hoping to bring a level of activity into there that it's designed for. There are multiple seating opportunities, a terrace area along the north edge of the site, as well as other furniture that can be installed. We have a small bridge that extends over the rain garden that happens at roughly the 2/3 point between the 2 buildings. Next slide. And lastly, just to touch on the materiality that we have for the building, we generally have a 3-story gray volume that's brick, elevated slightly over the parking garage. That first story is predominantly glass in the metal bar grate that Joe described. The upper two levels are a white ACM panel, hoping to lighten the feel of the overall building. That also finds its way into the fixtures along the facade that are part of the energy of the design. Lastly, in the grid of windows that we have, we're using a dichroic metal accent panel that's set into the window system to add some life to that facade and color. And that'll be in the Pan-African color scheme. Next slide. And Steve, I'm handing it back to you.
Yes, thank you, Tom. So the project will meet the city's sustainable policy goals. This slide gives you a sense of how we're going to meet that our 100-point requirement. Go to the next slide. We have met with stormwater staff, and from this email, we've moving forward with that and apply. I think this was already alluded to by Joe, but the project will have 65% of its units affordable. That's 51 of the 78 units. 45 of those units will be at the 60% AMI level, and 6 of the units will be at the 50% AMI level. Go to the next slide. So, we see this project as having significant amount of economic and community benefits. I think Athena really did a nice job of talking about how the development team is really integrating with other things going on in the community. But as this slide shows, got 51 new construction jobs. There's going to be one new permanent job. Our total construction cost is about $44 million. We're rehabilitating a Chicago landmark and revitalizing this vacant block. The creation of the community plaza is certainly going to be a wonderful public benefit. And as noted on the slide, this will certainly, the project will certainly meet the city's participation goals with respect to MBE, WB, and Chicago resident participation. With that, we'll hand it back to Mike, but we're here to answer any questions the members might have.
Thanks, Steve. Yes, given all that, in conclusion, Department of Planning and Development reviewed the proposal. The applicant team concluded that the project is appropriate for the following reasons. Promotes unified planning and development through design, which fits into the character of the neighborhood. Ensures a level of amenities that are appropriate to the nature and scale of the project. Promotes flexible application of development standards and provides creative urban design. Provides buildings abutting the sidewalk with windows and doors that activate the ground floor. Limits the amount of on-site parking and shields it from major commercial streets. Promotes transit, pedestrian and bicycle use, and ensures no conflicts with existing traffic patterns. Ensures all sides of the project are treated with high quality materials and finishes, and architectural details, especially those in the pedestrian and public facing realms, and is of course economically beneficial and compatible with the existing character of the development. Furthermore, the project was reviewed and approved by city departments, including CDOT, MOPD, and Fire, and it has the support of Alderman Mitz. Therefore, the Department of Planning and Development and the Zoning Administrator recommend that the Plan Commission recommend approval of a residential business plan development to accommodate this project, and recommend forwarding the application to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Thank you for your time, and any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Mike. Do the commissioners have any questions of the staff or of the applicant? I do not believe I see any hands. I believe Alderman Mitz is here to make a statement. Alderman? Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman.
No. Would you like to go to the Alderman?
Yes, let's do that if that's okay, Commissioner Cox. Alderman Mitz.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for having me today. Thanks to everyone who have been engaged in this project. This is part of the mayor's vision for Invest Southwest. This is truly been an opportunity that we've been trying to create in our community for a while. Thanks to the effort of the mayor and Department of Planning to want to give that help right in the center of 37 Ward on Chicago Avenue. It is an area where transit is very frequent, and it is an eyesore at the moment. And I just can't wait for this project to get off the ground. We've had numerous community meetings, community engagement, and everyone feels as if I do. We're looking for to take out all of the old things and try and put some newness there, new life, new hope. And it's going to really help the neighborhood with all the investments that are continuing to go on Chicago Avenue. I just want to thank the team. Thank you, Athena, for the work that you've done over the years and helping with housing. And now you have an opportunity to bring the housing to the 37 Ward. After you've lived there, you saw the vision to want to give back. And that's the story that one don't usually get a chance to tell. But I'm here to say that Athena was a resident there. Athena used to work for my office at one time, but her passion have always been housing. So she's fulfilling a dream, and a dream that's needed right now in our community. I can't wait to see some development start on that building. And I want to thank you all for allowing us to give the presentation. It's been well given by all of the departments. Mike Perello have been very instrumental in helping us to get through this phase, including all of the community. So thank you all, and I ask for your favorable support on this project today. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Mitz, and I do appreciate you also calling out Athena, especially. I certainly could have listened to you for another couple minutes on the additional benefits that this great development has to offer for what it's worth. But with that, I'd like to turn it back over to our commissioners. Commissioner Cox, followed by Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you, Chair. I may want to comment even at the end. I mean, I'm just so excited by us being at this moment, and I think those who are on the design and development team know the hundreds of hours that it has taken to bring this project forward, which is really a flagship project in the Invest Southwest portfolio. I just thought it was important to underscore that this is an example of Mayor Lightfoot being willing to go to a corridor where the city did not own the property and secured the property from a legacy owner and brought together our departments of housing, planning, and DCASE and CDOT, all to work on an anchor catalytic investment. I just want to acknowledge the design team, Ms. DeWalt, who is also working with Leighton Design and Historic Preservation firm. But the plan is just simply smart. It's a smart piece of urbanism to take a 6-story building and to push it to the rear of the site, respecting the scale and character of Chicago Avenue, creating a quiet place, this courtyard. You can imagine, because Chicago Avenue can be a very busy street. So to create a refuge that is both accessible to the public, but also a real amenity for the residents. And I have a feeling as well for the uses that will be in Laramie Bank. So it just embodies some of the best things that we're trying to do in neighborhoods in the South, in Best Southwest. And I think most people could attest to the fact that this looks better than any market rate housing you will see in Chicago. And that it has this range of affordability and mix is a real testament to really what we're trying to do in dignifying all neighborhoods, that they all deserve to have this quality of environment. So I'm just really, really pleased. I think the team, the joint venture team, the architecture team, DPD's team with Mike Perella's leadership have brought this project forward. So I could not be more thrilled. I did have like a question that was a choice. I'm gonna say my question, and I think that's probably a good answer, and this is for the architect. The decision to do the tuck under parking for the apartment building was really smart. I have noticed that you did not allow for any entry from the parking into the courtyard. So I'm wondering what happens if you find that the parking is undersubscribed because of the accessibility to transit and some of the adjacent uses that are in the historic Laramie Bank. You know, if there's a blues museum, if there's a cafe, is there a possibility that these two might want to share that parking resource? That's assuming that the resource might be undersubscribed, meaning you may not actually need all of this parking for the units. Maybe you will, but if you did have a shared parking scenario, how would people from using the bank building, how would they actually use the parking? Because it looks like they would be, if you were to have a parking shared arrangement, they would have to go through the alley, come back around the sidewalk to come into the building. So it just seems to be, it seems pretty clear that this is parking only for the residents. But I also know, you know, we have mixed use development, we have affordable housing developments where there is no parking on site. So I was just curious whether you thought through how that might be a shared resource if it were by chance undersubscribed.
Commissioner Cox, this is Joe Valerio. Again, I think we'd be happy. I mean, we've responded to DPD's comments, you know, throughout the process, and we certainly could take a look at that. Of course, the issue is, of course, you know, we want to make sure that we don't penetrate the security of the residential building. So, but we certainly can take a look at it. We certainly could provide that kind of doorway, and then we could take advantage of the parking if in fact it is undersubscribed.
Just a minor point, I do think that it is something that could be amended at any time, but I was just trying to understand the logic, because I wouldn't want us to come back and all of the commercial uses in the Laramie Bank that all of a sudden people are asking, well, where do I park? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been Heartland's feeling that the parking will not be subscribed, but again, we can take a look at it, Commissioner.
Again, thank you. That was my only question, Chair Brumfield.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Villegas, I believe, followed by Commissioner Moore, and then Commissioner Navarro.
Thank you, Chairman. I just excited to see that this property is finally being developed. I've driven past here over many years, and want to congratulate my colleague, Alderwoman Mitz, for her resiliency and her tenacity to get something done here on this corner. And this is an exciting project for the west side of the city. I was on another meeting, and I just wanted to know how many units are affordable, and were there any units set aside for veterans?
So Alderman, this is Steve Friedland. The total number of affordable units out of the 78 units is 51 units. So 65% is affordable. And I can be corrected by anyone on the development team, but I do not believe there's going to be any preference, for the type of resident or for a veteran.
Okay. Again, this is an exciting project. This is something that I support 100%, and want to congratulate my colleague from the 37th Ward. I guess I would just make a statement that as we're moving forward with the affordability, if there's an opportunity to try to capture opportunities for veterans that need some housing and are homeless, and so that would be my only request moving forward as projects are brought forward to the Plan Commission, if that could be something that we can take a look at. I look forward to supporting this project, and again, congratulations, Alderwoman Mitz.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. A very good point on the veterans. Commissioner Moore, followed by Commissioner Navarro.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to, first of all, say how happy I am to have a South Side project and a West Side project in our neighborhoods in the city at this one meeting. So I applaud the department, all the good work on getting this stuff. I know it's hard, but getting it in front of us is very important. So thank you for that. Secondly, I would like to thank Athena for all of her hard work. Such an inspirational woman, works very hard, talented, and I'm just really happy to see you here and keep it up. And I hope to see you back every year with a different project along Chicago Avenue. I have just a couple of little things. One is I wanted to say that the design, it was some very creative things that I really liked. I've never seen movable gates that looked like they did in that design. So I would be really curious at how they operate. And when you say they're closed at night, does that limit access, or is there another access to it? And the other thing is I really like the window frames, the way you framed out those windows. That's really good. I'm really starting to like architecture. I'm getting a really appreciation for it. The last thing I wanted to say, I thought I heard it was a $44 million project, but only one permanent job. So that just kind of struck me as a little strange, even though I know, there'll be property managers. Is that a maintenance person, or what would be that one permanent job in the project? So that is all. Thank you very much.
I'll jump in with the last question first. This is Steve Friedland, and Heartland team, you can join in as well. I think that's referring to the permanent job of the development team. Obviously, when the Laramie State Bank is occupied by commercial users, there will be many other jobs in that building. So I think probably our answer to that question on a city forum is somewhat misleading, in the sense that there's going to be numerous jobs that will occupy the commercial building. Joe, I don't know if you want to speak to how those the fence is going to work.
Yeah, I mean, the gates are on a bearing that allows them to swing quite easily, and then when they're closed, they can be locked together to secure the courtyard. The question of when they're open, when they're closed, that's really an operational question for the development team. But the intent was, as Commissioner Cox indicated, the intent really is to make this asset available to the members of the community, during really the daylight hours. We think it's going to be an important amenity for the community, and as Commissioner Cox indicated, an oasis along what is a very busy street.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Commissioner Moore. Commissioner Navarro.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to add my congrats to the team here. I'm really so pleased to see this Invest Southwest development coming to Plan Commission. And in a way, to echo what I said earlier, I'm always so pleased when the production of affordable housing leverages other things that are needed in a community or that have been a challenge for a community. So for this new construction to be literally attached to an old bank building that has clearly such beautiful history in this community, but had been, you know, vacant and abandoned for so long. I'm just so pleased that the two together can bring such a positive to this community, which really needs it. So I want to applaud this team. This was an ambitious thing to take on, to figure out that building and the new construction housing here. And we were very pleased to support this development in our 2021 funding round. Thanks.
Yeah, I should add that this is Joe again, that you know, when we surveyed the neighborhood from this intersection, there was that if you go a mile in either direction, north, south, east, or west, there was no other financial institutions. So, and we were also surprised, and Athena did this, that two major national banking corporations have indicated an interest in locating on this corner in the historic bank.
It's truly tremendous and a great testament to what this kind of focus, you know, from the Department of Planning and the mayor's office really pushing Invest Southwest, and then the level of community response and the work of people like Athena to do that recruitment. It's a very great testament. Thanks to you all.
Thank you, Commissioner. I do have a couple of comments just to commend the design team and the development team overall for what I think is a landmark project and a landmark design. Joe, I do really appreciate what you had to say in terms of clarity and explanation in terms of public art and some of the limitations that you actually had working with landmarks. I thought that was actually important to highlight, and also appreciate you highlighting as well, even though it's not shown in the renderings, the commitment by you and the team to really have public art that really is coming from the community expressed on those panels. And I think those gates are just incredible. I like that they're oversized. I like that they're just slightly above human scale. I think it's really a great opportunity, not only for public art, but it's really going to give a lot of different personalities, if you will, to not only the streetscape, but of course that courtyard as well. So I think it was just really a clever design move from a public realm standpoint, how you actually treated the gates and how that is going to allow for that great flexibility of that public and then at the same time, when needed, privately contained space. So kudos to you and the team. With that, are there any additional questions from the commissioners for the staff or the applicant or the alderman? If no, do I have a motion on the proposed residential business plan development, submitted by Austin United Alliance Development Company, LLC, for the property generally located at 5200 to 5224 West Chicago Avenue, finding that it meets the requirements for approval? Do I have a motion?
So moved, Commissioner Moore.
So moved by Commissioner Moore, seconded by a number of people, but I think I might have heard Commissioner Tunney the loudest and the clearest on this, but thank you. With that, I'd like to do a roll call. Commissioner Barclay, I believe had to leave. Commissioner Biaggi. Commissioner Burnett.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Brumfield is a yes. Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Escarino. Commissioner Flores. Commissioner Garza.
Yes.
Commissioner Lightfoot. Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Commissioner Navarra.
Yes.
Commissioner Osterman. Commissioner Pinheiro.
That's a recusal, Vice Chair.
Oh, my apologies. Yes. Commissioner Reyes. And I understand Commissioner Searle has recused herself as well. Commissioner Pizzata. Commissioner Tunney.
Aye.
Commissioner Villegas.
Aye.
And Commissioner Wagasback. And looks like this motion does pass. Congratulations to the team. And as others have said, it's just fantastic to see this Invest Southwest project move forward to the next stage. And we wish you the best of luck as this moves forward.
Thank you.
Last item on the agenda, item D6, the proposed industrial corridor map amendment in the Ravenswood Industrial Corridor submitted by the applicant Smiley Brothers Brewing Company, LLC, for the property generally located at 5435 North Wolcott Avenue. The applicant is proposing to rezone the site from M2-2 Light Industry District to a C3-3 Commercial Manufacturing and Employment District. The applicant seeks to rezone the property to establish an outdoor patio, number 20890, located in the 40th Ward. Paul Rice will provide the context overview and the applicant will present the proposal. Paul.
Thank you, Vice Chairman, and good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Paul Reese with the Department of Planning and Development. This application is for a proposed development generally located at 5435 North Wolcott Avenue. And the applicant, Smiley Brothers Brewing Company, LLC, appears here today as a mandatory requirement of the Chicago zoning ordinance to request a zoning map amendment for this parcel of land from M22 to C33 zoning classification within the Ravenswood Industrial Corridor. Subject site is in the Lincoln Square community area in the 40th Ward. The total population of just over 40,000 people, of which 65% are Caucasian. The median income is over 81,000, which is above the city and regional average. The subject site is located within an area designated as Ravenswood Industrial Corridor. The corridor runs generally along Ravenswood Avenue from Balmoral to Irving Park to south. Notably shown here are several other brewery and distilleries nearby in the corridor. The subject site is the start. The proposed project site is an existing brewery operated by the applicant and situated along the northern side of the Ravenswood corridor, shown here in red. The site is adjacent to a mix of other uses, including light manufacturing and commercial. The site is currently zoned M22 and the applicant seeks a change in this designation to C3-3. The zoning request would allow for the use of an outdoor patio. Following are several exterior photos of the existing site. For more context, here is the view from the streets, closer within the courtyard area. This is from the rear. More context photos, south elevation, and the north elevation. The Ravenswood Industrial Corridor Framework Plan was adopted by the Plan Commission in February of 2019 with goals of continuing investment in the industrial corridor, supporting the area as a job center, adapting to the changing needs of businesses, and preserving and reusing existing buildings. I will now hand it over to the project team consisting of Tom Moore, the project's attorney, Mark Mikansky and John Splitt, the project architects, to walk through the development specifics and explain their proposal.
Thank you, Paul. My name is Tom Moore, and I'm the zoning attorney who brought this through the community process and to the zoning committee when we realized we had to, because it is in an industrial corridor, we had to come before the Plan Commission as well. The 40th Ward did have a community process, and we had virtually no opposition because there is no residential area near this. This is really surrounded by industrial properties, and the brewery is existing. So it's ideal to, in the summer months, to be able to have a patio experience that virtually won't bother anybody. So we are aware of absolutely no opposition from anybody, and we're hoping to get your support as well. Jonathan Splitt and his team are the architects, and maybe they could tell us a little bit about how they hope to improve the property.
Hi, I'm Mark Krashansky from Jonathan Split Architects. Well, I'm here with Jonathan Split, the principal of the firm. As you saw from like an earlier slide, the site had a lot of unused green space. Michael Smiley, the owner of the brewery, wanted to use that green space and to add patio, basically a patio to be used by the customers and the neighborhood. As you could see, we're adding a lot of like real informal seating to the exterior, improving the unused green space, adding concrete paths, some crushed gravel, decorative gravel seating areas, improving the landscaping that is there, along with new fencing along the perimeter, and some basically shades essentially, so people can sit outside on a sunny day, enjoy the patio. We had little provisions for a food truck that could be parked on site, and we're increasing some of the bicycle parking. We're actually adding bicycle parking to the site as well. Next slide. This is just a plan of the existing brewery. Actually, Michael has been in this space for approximately about 5 years. We're adding accessible bathrooms to be used by the patio, by the customers. Next slide, please. Just a small, another extension of the plan, some upstairs storage. Next slide. The exterior of the existing building is pretty much remaining unchanged. As you can see, we're adding a door to the bathrooms that we pointed out in plan, and a new roll-up service door to access the basically a counter for to purchase the beer. But the remainder of the building is pretty much unchanged. Next slide. Just an example, a section through the brewery showing the area of the new restrooms. Next slide. This is just some of the study of the different uses of the space for the parking analysis. We're providing 3 parking spaces, one of them being accessible. Next slide. And just a study of the different areas of the patio and the materials. This is something that Civil wanted to review, but it gives you an idea of like how much the landscaping that we are improving on site, including the landscape buffer along Wolcott. And this next slide just shows the example of the finishes, what we're looking and how to that we're going to improve the space. Very kind of like informal seating, landscaping, shades, very kind of like a backyard feel to the patio, very informal. And next slide. Once again, just like a study of the different of materials and that we are going to be improving the patio with. As I mentioned, kind of like the concrete walkway and just a very series of the crushed gravel and additional landscaping. Some of the business points of the brewery. This will be a seasonal patio, of course, starting in May, going into November. Primarily during the week, it's going to be open in the evenings from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and on the weekends from noon to about 9 o'clock, and I believe 10 o'clock on Saturday and Friday. Roughly about 3 or 4 jobs will be added to the brewery to serve the patio. And as I mentioned, Mike Smiley Brothers, has been in operation since like 2014. They have a brew pub in Evanston. They just opened one in Lakeview. And once again, just like ideally just reuse or utilizing the unused green spaces as part of the site. Next slide, please.
Thanks. I'll take it back over from here. Again, Paul Reese with the Department of Planning. The Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant and has concluded that the proposed development would be appropriate for the following reasons. The proposed reuse of an existing building and establishing an outdoor patio are all in compliance with the criteria, goals, and guiding principles contained in the Ravenswood Framework Plan reviewed as approved by the Chicago Plan Commission. The proposed rezoning requests within the industrial corridor has been considered against the review criteria contained in the Chicago zoning ordinance has been deemed appropriate. The proposed C3-3 zoning classification is compatible with the surrounding mixture of zoning classifications and uses. Third, the proposed use of the subject site are compatible with other commercial uses located within the immediate vicinity, most specifically the variety of other breweries and distilleries within the corridor. Copies of this application have been circulated to other city departments and agencies, and no comments have been received which have not been addressed. Alderman Vasquez is in support of this project, and he has staff here to speak on his behalf. Please refer to my staff report for specific details regarding this project and the plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, it is the recommendation of the Department of Planning and Development that this application for a map amendment within the Ravenswood Industrial Corridor be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Did the commissioners have any questions of the staff or the applicant? I believe there's one hand, Commissioner Cox.
Yes. This looks like it's going to be a wonderful addition and to activate that outdoor space. I was kind of curious about the adjacent, go back to that image that shows the aerial. Yeah. I'm curious about the adjacent parcel to this. It looks like some kind of storage yard and thus the solid fence, which I think is going to obviously, protect the users of the outdoor space. But I'm assuming also that site might be redeveloped sometime in the future. And I just want to understand whether, the brewery is a permitted use. Can that site next door be developed as residential? And if so, is there some built-in future conflict that we're gonna see because of the outdoor aspect? I support the brewery and the idea of the beer garden, but I think we should obviously imagine the future and hopefully we can get a complementary use to the brewery. But that's just my question.
That's a good question, Commissioner. This is Jonathan Split. Our same landlord and owner owns that lot. The entire site used to be a Heinz Lumber, and my client bought it to keep it as an industrial use. So currently it's a boat repair yard as well as a landscaper. And I believe there's a contractor as well. And they all have long-term leases. It's currently zoned M12, so it cannot have any residential use. And my clients / our landlord, he's run it that way for over a decade, and I think he likes the industrial use as well. So I don't think there's any plans for residential.
And I'd like to add that we specifically chose the classification of C3 because it does not allow residential.
Great, thank you. That's very helpful. I know, Noah, your hand is up.
I was just going to explain, I'll verify what the applicant said. I mean, this site falls within the Ravenswood Industrial Corridor, so it is a protected area that is supposed to allow for industry to kind of keep flourishing. This corridor underwent a revision a couple of years back with the changing types of industry that were in the areas. So it went to more of a light industrial and artisanal manufacturing type uses. There are various hand furniture type related, woodworking related uses along here. And there are several breweries in this corridor. There's actually just around the corner from this one is actually, they did the same thing that this gentleman is doing with his brewery called Half Acre. They did the exact same process they're doing today. So there are several of these. It's consistent with the Ravenswood Industrial Corridor Plan that was rewritten. And we should not see any residential conflicts due to the overlay of the corridor.
Great, thanks so much.
Commissioner Pinheiro?
Yes, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, thank you for the presentation. Very helpful. I'm curious about the parking situation. I see, unless I'm mistaken, I see that there are 3 parking spaces, and as I'm looking at the seating area, I see that it's meant to accommodate several dozen people here. Can you help me understand what the vision is around parking and accommodating the patrons of the business?
Yes, much like many of the breweries on the block in the neighborhood, it does cater toward, it has a big following from the neighborhood. So it seems like there's always a lot of like a walk-up business.
Bicycles,
and a lot of bicycles, a lot of bikers in the area that goes to the brewery. And with this location, it is a pretty desolate area in the manufacturing district. And most of the districts, or excuse me, most of the businesses, since they are manufacturing, they're kind of catered toward 9 to 5 essentially. And since the brewery patio is open in the evenings and on the weekends, we don't feel there's going to be much of a conflict. And I should add that you mentioned about the adjacent parcel to the south that is actually owned by the same owner. And they also have the same, I should say, property owner, not the business owner. And there is also the possibility of using that as additional parking if necessary.
And there's quite a bit of street parking as well that's not designated for residential or metered or tagged in any way. So
yes,
there's plenty of parking that exists.
And just to follow up, we did a zoning analysis on the parking and determined it was 2.5 spaces required, and they're providing 3 spaces. So it does fit to the code.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? And I believe we do have a representative of the 40th Ward.
Yes, hi, I'm Morgan. I'm the Director of Economic Development here.
Oh, hi, Morgan. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. We're very much in support of this project. They have been an asset to our community, and I think the expansion will only allow them to continue to do so and to continue to grow.
Thank you, Morgan. With that, are there any other questions from the commissioners for staff or the applicant or the alderman or representative from the alderman's office? If not, do I have a motion on the proposed industrial corridor map amendment in the Ravenswood Industrial Corridor submitted by the applicant Smiley Brothers Brewing Company LLC for the property generally located at 5435 North Wolcott Avenue, finding that it meets the requirements for approval? Do I have a motion?
So moved by Commissioner Cox.
Thank you,
Seconded by
Commissioner.
Commissioner Searle.
Thank you, Commissioner Searle. With that, unless there's any discussion by the commissioners on this motion, I will move this to roll call vote. Commissioner Barclays, I believe, had to leave. Commissioner Biaggi, Commissioner Burnett, Commissioner Brumfield is yes. Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Escarino, Commissioner Flores, Commissioner Garza,
Yes.
Commissioner Lightfoot, Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner Boer had to leave. Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Navarra,
Yes.
Commissioner Osterman, Commissioner Pinheiro,
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes, Commissioner Searle,
Yes.
Commissioner Spazada, Commissioner Tunney, Commissioner Villegas,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wagaspak. The motion does pass. Congratulations to the team.
Thank you very much.
And you're welcome. And I believe this does conclude this month's meeting, the Chicago Plan Commissioner, Chicago Plan Commission. I just want to thank my fellow commissioners for putting up with me as I've chaired this commission for the first time. I know I made a number of mispronunciations, so I owe a few people some apologies here within the next 24 hours. I will promise to do better next time as I'm filling in, but thank you for your patience. With that, do I have an motion to adjourn?
So moved by Commissioner Searle.
Thank you, Commissioner Searle. Seconded by
Garza.
Seconded by Garza. Roll call. Commissioner Barclay. Commissioner Biaggi. Commissioner Brumfield is a yes. I'm sorry, Commissioner Burnett. Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Escarino. Commissioner Flores. Commissioner Garza.
Yes.
Commissioner Lightfoot. Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore. Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Commissioner Navarro.
Yes.
Commissioner Osterman. Commissioner Pinheiro.
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes. Commissioner Searle.
Yes.
Commissioner Posado. Commissioner Tunney. Commissioner Villegas. And Commissioner Walkerspat. Well, thank you. This meeting is concluded for this month. Chicago Plan Commission. Time is 1:09. Thank you for your commitment to the city, and we look forward to our next meeting.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.